Chapter 1601. Dazzling divine light shone from the interior of the godly mountain. Streams of energy flowed out from the widening cracks on the divine mountain like a flood. The 5 godly mountains shattered into pieces one after another. It was as if heaven and earth had collapsed. After 10,000 years, the godly mountain had become one with the continent. It had become the main vein of the entire continent. As the boundless life energy flowed out of the divine mountain, the landscape of the continent and all the phenomena of the world began to change. The godly mountain in the great star Douluo forest had become the core of the continent. However, it shattered at this moment. At this moment, not only Huiyu Hao and the rest, but all life on the continent could feel the tremors from the center of the world. The countless laws on the godly mountain shattered and dissipated. A figure slowly rose up from the inside of the divine mountain. Like a meteor streaking across the starry sky, he flew into the sky. Its teacher. The fleeting figure didn't escape everyone's eyes. Although it was only for an instant, that figure was very familiar. However, it was slightly different. It's really boss. Zhu Kuan looked at the shooting star and was very excited. It's a pity that Sister Qing and the rest didn't come. However, why do I feel that boss is a little different? He was different. He was a little different from boss a few hundred years ago. Just the aura he exuded was very different. However, there was one thing that was the same. Look, it's boss martial soul. Boss has been in closed-door cultivation in this broken mountain for 10,000 years, but his martial soul still looks familiar. As Wang Feng's first underling, Odontasuchus immediately discovered the green lotus above the figure's head. What dense energy, what is teacher doing in this godly mountain? Huiyu Hao was even more astonished by the energy that seeped out as the godly mountain broke apart. If he had been to the God realm, he would have discovered that this energy was even stronger than the immortal spiritual energy in the God realm. This was because this was the purest life energy from the life origin in his body. It came from the life origin of a godly king from another world. It was even stronger than the life origin in the Douluo God realm. After Huiyu Hao finished comprehending the life origin, this last wave of energy was released. As time passed, this continent might become a brand new world. Of course, that might be another 10,000 years in the future. Why do I feel like the teacher didn't see us? Jiang Nannan stared at the clouds in a daze. She wanted to fly up. However, he discovered that there seemed to be countless restrictions between heaven and earth. As the life energy within the sacred mountain overflowed, the white figure rose into the clouds. The entire world seemed to have come to a standstill. The pure soul force in their bodies seemed to have been locked, and they couldn't move it no matter what. Uncle Feng from the divine mountain, and the Uncle Feng from the other world that father mentioned Wang Dong stared into the deep space. It should be the same person. Perhaps it's just a difference in their strength. He seems to be leaving. Isn't he going to meet us first? Why do I feel that this teacher is somewhat strange? Xiao Xiao raised her head and said. Above the blue sky, Wang Feng's body was like a divine pillar. Every inch of his body was exuding a majestic aura of life. He glanced at Huiyu Hao and the others. Boss Yu is out. Wang Feng exhaled softly and touched his heart. He could control the life origin with ease now. However, although this body had settled down for 10,000 years, its soul force was still fixed at rank 100. However, the body had the chaotic green lotus, and its soul force had been compressed to rank 100. Normally, soul force couldn't be compared to godly power. Godly power needed to form a divine ring and absorb the immortal spiritual energy of the God realm. However, the chaotic green lotus was very useful in this aspect. The compressed soul force, together with the life energy of the life origin, had evolved into an energy that wasn't inferior to godly power. Furthermore, the comprehension of this life origin meant that the cultivation path of the body was no longer restricted by the divine ring after rank 100. In other words, the cultivation path of the body had already broken away from the rules of the Douluo divine world. This was because this life origin represented the cultivation path of a godly king from another world, not to mention the changes of the chaotic green lotus martial spirit. In terms of strength, it might be stronger than the clone that had inherited the origin tribulation godly king. After all, the clone still had two origins that hadn't awakened. Let's use the 1 chi into 3 pure ones first, and let the clone borrow the full strength of the body. Perhaps only then can we fight that universe-level being. Wang Feng sighed softly, and his gaze landed in front of Huoyuhao. The body in the divine mountain could sense the outside world, especially the vicinity of the divine mountain. The conversation between Huoyuhao and the others just now was clearly remembered by the body. The laws contained in that energy just now had the aura of the 5 godly kings of the god realm. The body has already comprehended the life origin. However, there are 5 godly kings' laws in the divine mountain. Without the return of the clone soul, it can't control the life origin to break through the restrictions set by the 5 godly kings. Therefore, as long as the clone doesn't return to the divine mountain, even if it comprehended the life origin, it can't break through the divine mountain in a short time. However, the energy seed that Huoyuhao brought with him was able to unlock the laws of the 5 great divine kings. Someone with such strength could only be from the divine realm. Could it be Shiyu? Could it be that she knows I'm in danger in the dark demon world, and wants to help me unlock the restrictions on the divine mountain? That's right. She was the one who bewitched me to go to the dark demon world to help her find the Genesis demonic source. He pondered for a few seconds. Wang Feng glanced at Huoyuhao and the others and didn't stay any longer. Break. The primal chaos green lotus above his head blossomed with green light that enveloped the body. It shook violently in the clouds and turned into endless green airwaves that covered the entire sky of the continent before disappearing into the clouds, dark demon world, Bei Ti devil region. Wang Fengxin was shocked. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. Mo Tian's expression changed slightly. He felt a strange energy rising from the other party's body. Half-origin wheel? Mo Tian said slowly. So you have such an ability that is infinitely close to the universe level. No wonder you are so confident. A origin wheel lasts for 129,600 years in the universe. A universe-level life form exhausts a universe origin wheel to form a supreme divine treasure. It was equivalent to exhausting all of one's lifespan to form a supreme treasure. It was called the Origin Wheel Divine Treasure. It contained all the experiences and inheritance of a universe-level life form before its death. The ability within was called the Origin Wheel Divine Treasure. End of chapter. Chapter 1602. Of course, not to mention a complete inheritance like the Origin Wheel Divine Treasure, even some insignificant abilities in the Origin Wheel Divine Treasure were rare in the universe. Half of an Origin Wheel ability meant that it was incomplete. It was referring to the incomplete Origin Wheel Divine Treasure. In the universe, as long as it was related to the Origin Wheel God Treasure, it was a rare item. Even if it was incomplete, it was no exception. Since that's the case, let me take a look. Mo Tiance waved his hand slightly. In an instant, the dark devil world's heaven and earth changed. The large world in the sky directly pressed down. The terrifying pressure almost annihilated countless soul demons in the northern T-Devil region. Only the demon gods could resist it. Bibidon, who was in the law cage, groaned. She looked at Wang Feng, who was glowing brightly in the distance. Her eyes widened slightly. She wasn't too sure about Wang Feng's situation. Back in the ancestral realm, she left in a hurry. In addition to the short time, Wang Feng didn't have the time to tell her about his experiences. Naturally, she didn't know. But she had a premonition and confidence. Wang Feng might do something big today that could overturn the history of the Dark Devil world. But he might suffer an unimaginable blow. In a daze, she recalled the time in the Douluo continent. He didn't fear a god king when his soul power wasn't even at rank 100. The end result was still fine. But now, he was even more dangerous and terrifying than before. Because this ancestor demon was even more powerful and terrifying than a god king. Even the demon gods weren't worth mentioning in front of an expert of this level, let alone a god king. She gazed deeply. Douluo divine world. Star Soul Road, Sea of Reincarnation. Shiyu sat in the center of the Sea of Reincarnation. She watched as the souls in the boundless sea slowly sank to the bottom of the sea. I didn't expect you to attract the attention of this fellow in the dark devil world so quickly. As expected, you're still too dazzling. Shiyu muttered, with your current strength, even with your main body in the sacred mountain, you might not be able to defeat Mo Tian's consciousness body. A universe-level life form isn't as simple as you think. Difficult, difficult, difficult. She spat out 3 words. Like a celestial in a painting, her figure gently moved, stirring up endless ripples in the sea of reincarnation. I originally thought that you would only attract Mo Tian's attention after you obtained all the Origin Tribulation Divine King's inheritance in the Dark Devil world and went to the reincarnation well. Shiyu's heart skipped a beat. Her eyes glowed. It's not a good thing to improve too quickly. Besides, even I didn't expect that you'd be related to the Crimson Deity Skyfox. You punk, in these large worlds, your luck is very good. However, to a universe-level life form, no matter how good your luck is, it can still be easily taken away. If you are able to survive this tribulation, it will definitely be a partial victory, and there will be future troubles. Otherwise, it'll be a dead end. The more she thought about it, the more irritated Shiyu's perfect face became. It was just like the helpless feeling of someone who had worked so hard to set up a trap, only to discover that the chess piece had jumped out of his control when he was waiting for the final outcome. Furthermore, it had even attracted the attention of a powerful chess player, causing everything to go down the drain. Wang Feng growled. He felt an endless amount of energy surging into his body. Is this the life essence of a god king? Wang Feng could feel this incomparably powerful energy. After all, it was the life essence of a god king from another world. Besides, this god king might be even more powerful than the demon gods in the dark devil world. However, he was still a distance away from a universe-level life form. In fact, even in the dark devil world, Yamalord, who was said to be the closest to a universe-level life form, was still a long way away. However, compared to the other demon gods, Yamalord was already far ahead of them. It's a pity that the Chaos Green Lotus has a limited effect on me now. Wang Fengxin sighed softly. He didn't merge his main body and his clone into one. He only borrowed the strength of his main body. This was because he only had the first and middle parts of the one Qi turning 3 pure ones. Wang Feng guessed that only the second part could merge the strength of his main body and clone into one, making him even stronger. However, now that he had comprehended the life essence, his main body's strength had once again surpassed this clone. Wang Feng naturally wouldn't hesitate to deal with an opponent of Mo Tian's level. Perhaps only the Pangu axe had a chance. Wang Feng didn't want to waste the opportunity to try anything else. With the help of the clone's primordial origin model, and the real Pangu axe martial soul, I might be able to try to materialize the Pangu axe martial soul. Almost instantly, Wang Feng thought of the only way to defeat his opponent. Because the primordial origin already had the model information of the Pangu axe martial soul, Wang Feng felt that he might be able to materialize the Pangu axe martial soul to a certain extent. He would be able to unleash the true power of the Pangu axe. This was the fastest way to fight in a short period of time. With a thought, the primordial origin revolved at its fastest speed. Wang Feng's palm moved slightly, and the appearance of the Pangu axe rapidly appeared. Mo Tian squinted his eyes slightly and snapped his fingers in midair. Rumble! As the great world in the sky descended, waves of destructive pressure formed countless law spears. They pierced through space and time from the sky and penetrated Wang Feng's body. Bibidon, who was locked in the cage, narrowed his eyes as his heart raced. Mo Tian's casual move was a powerful attack that surpassed the origin. No, to be precise, it hadn't left the origin. However, there were too many origins in his great world. The power formed from so many origins wasn't something a demon god could resist. Therefore, if a casual snap of his fingers was aimed at the dark demon world, the dark demon world's demon domain would be pierced through. Even a demon god could be killed instantly. Even a demon's soul could be annihilated. A demon god with the God Slayer could still resist a few moves. However, in that instant, countless law spears penetrated Wang Feng's body. It was even scarier than the pure pressure just now. However, Wang Feng, whose body was penetrated, shattered instantly. Even his blood disappeared as though he had turned into dust. This meant that secret arts like the He word riddle and Qian word riddle were useless. However, the primordial origin didn't disappear. Even the Pangu axe that was condensing in his hand didn't disappear. The life origin at his heart allowed Wang Feng to recover instantly. This was the power of a godly king's life origin. It was almost immortal. Not bad. I have seen a lot of life origin. Mo Tian's eyes flickered. However, this is the first time I have seen such a powerful life origin. Although it isn't the origin of a universe-level life origin, it is definitely very close. Half of the initial wheel divine ability, and such a powerful life source. Also, the weapon condensed in your hand is a supreme saint weapon that can split a origin wheel great world, right? No wonder. No wonder you could split that chaotic world. I see. Interesting. Mo Tian's eyes shone brighter. He had never been so surprised before. It was impossible for a human race expert in a great world to come into contact with a universe-level life origin, let alone a universe-level life origin. However, Mo Tian's was able to possess such a heaven-defying treasure. It truly shocked him. What was even more shocking was that the primordial origin seemed to have turned into a universe. The Pangu axe pattern in the center merged with the Pangu axe martial soul in Wang Feng's soul to deduce everything. Mo Tian stared at the life origin and said slowly, however, this origin will saint weapon is just a wisp of remnant soul to you. However, you can use your own life origin to deduce and complete it. Impressive. It seems like I can't keep you alive. Chapter 1603. As a universe-level life form, he was very sensitive to the growth of many life forms. Coupled with his means and understanding of the karma of the universe, Mo Tian's had a strange feeling about this human before him. If he let him go, the consequences would be unimaginable. His feeling wouldn't be wrong. His feeling, in essence, was a deduction formed by following the karma of the universe. Even he had only obtained 2 half-origin wheel superpowers. As for the origin wheel saint weapon, he had none. The origin wheel saint weapon had to go through the tempering of a universe's origin wheel before it could be formed. It was impossible for a universe-level life form to have one unless it was very ancient. Even if the other party only had the remnant soul of the origin wheel saint weapon and wasn't real, it still meant that the other party had a great opportunity. As for the life origin, it was still considered good. There was also the life origin that was infinitely close to a universe-level life form. Basically, with such an origin, it meant that as long as there was enough time, becoming a universe-level life form was just a matter of time. In other words, if the other party was allowed to grow, he would definitely become a universe-level life form. If he didn't end the other party at such a time, it would definitely be his calamity and consequence in the future. Thinking of this, Mo Tian roared and extended his hand towards the sky as though he wanted to grab the sun and moon, grabbing the great world in the sky. 1. The great world was like the origin of the stars in the sky. It seemed to be responding to him as it fell from the sky. It was like a dense shower of meteors falling. Every meteor carried a terrifying power that seemed to be able to destroy the dark demon world dozens of times. Milky Way eternity intent. Emotiance clenched his fist. Suddenly, the entire world seemed to have turned into a starry sky battlefield. It was as though the battlefield had turned into an endless starry sky after leaving the dark demon world. Countless origins fell from the great world in the sky and turned into the stars in the universe, forming a dazzling Milky Way. The Milky Way seemed to carry a supreme will that suppressed the universe battlefield. Wang Feng felt an irresistible, terrifying will in his mind that eroded everything. Even the primordial origin couldn't continue to condense. What is this? Wang Feng looked at the Pangu axe that was only half materialized and was greatly shocked. He knew that it was definitely a great Tao above the origin. A power that surpassed the origin. But what exactly was it? Wang Feng didn't know and wasn't sure. This kind of absolute crushing power was still a little far away from the current him. Furthermore, Emotiance had yet to descend with his true body and was only a condensed consciousness. Wang Feng was already confused by his various means. Moreover, the other party clearly did not intend to give him a chance to materialize the Pangu Act. Universe-level life forms understood everything clearly. They wouldn't leave a single chance. Especially in the face of life forms below them, no matter how arrogant they would not give them the slightest chance. Because, in a sense, they could see the possibility of victory and defeat. Emotiance knew that if he allowed Wang Feng to deduce and materialize the Origin Wheel Saint artifact, the body formed by the intent would most likely be killed. The best outcome would be a lose-lose situation. He would not accept such an outcome. Eternity Will was the grand Tao of universe-level life forms. It symbolized the will of the universe. The universe was boundless, but there were countless wills. Only by comprehending the will of the universe could one become a true universe-level life form. As for the demonic chi, it actually contained the will of the universe. However, the will of the universe was a little special. He didn't comprehend it back then but left it in the dark demon world for other purposes. This time, he returned to retrieve the will of the universe in hopes of improving himself. He wasn't looking for a fated person. At the same time, Wang Feng felt the irresistible will and his mind was filled with thoughts. He looked at the section of the axe blade in his hand. Then, he looked at Emotiance in the distance. If that's the case, I can only use this method. Perhaps it's the only way. Wang Feng murmured. He raised the half-section of the Panguak. It was different from before when he used the elemental origin and primordial origin to simulate. This time, he used the Pangu Axe martial soul as the spirit to materialize. Even though it was only half a section, it was countless times stronger than before. Just the aura alone made Wang Feng feel that he could easily hack a demonic god to death. However, Wang Feng didn't have much confidence in facing Emotiance. Under the suppression of the supreme will, even the life origin couldn't be used. The energy seemed to be confined. The only thing he could use was the half-section of the Panguak. This was his first time witnessing a battle between universal-level life forms. It made Wang Feng feel the power that surpassed the divine world and dark demon world. It was a perfection and caution that wouldn't give you a chance. Compared to when Wang Feng battled Godly King of Destruction, it was countless times stronger. Only one chance. Wang Feng gazed at the universe battlefield that had undergone a great change, as well as the galaxy formed by the origin. Without any hesitation, Wang Feng leaped and slashed at Emotiance in the distance with his axe. The half-section of the axe blade seemed to be dragging a godly light that was billions of miles long. It first slashed a crack in the galaxy before slashing at Emotiance. Under the galaxy intent, only the true origin wheel profound intent can slash through it. However, Emotiance seemed to have seen the outcome. He couldn't help but laugh. Unfortunately, you've only condensed half of it. Even if you've fully condensed it, you'll die when you slash through it. Now that you've taken the half section of the Saint weapon and barely managed to slash a crack, your aura has diminished greatly. Plus, your life origin can't be unleashed under the galaxy intent. You've even lost the source of your own divine power. Even if this attack reaches me, it won't have any power. What he said wasn't wrong. This axe slashed through the galaxy intent and tore apart the universe battlefield formed by Emotians. However, only a small part of it was torn apart. It was impossible to completely destroy it. Even if this axe reached Emotians, it wouldn't have much power left. However, the dazzling axe still cleaved towards Emotians without bending or bending. At this moment, Bibidon, who wasn't far away from Emotians, suddenly felt his heart skip a beat. He seemed to have realized something. He's not going to deal with Emotians. His axe is coming at me. Just as this thought arose in his mind, almost at the next moment, the axe suddenly changed direction and slashed at Bibidon, who wasn't far away from Emotians. This sudden change stunned Emotians for a moment. He didn't seem to understand at all. According to his deduction, this axe wouldn't pose any threat to him. The difference in strength between both parties was too huge. A universe-level life form wasn't something a lower-level life form could challenge, no matter how many heaven-defying items he had. However, the words universe willpower was enough to defeat all life forms below the universe level. The opponent's final outcome would definitely be a failure. However, no matter how well a universe-level life form understood the cause and effect of the universe, he wouldn't dare to confirm that the deduction would definitely happen. Just like now. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that the axe was not aimed at him at all. Instead, it was coming at this Heaven Devil Master that he had already neglected. What is he trying to do? Break my cage of rules? But so what? Emotians knitted his brows and rapidly pondered. However, he didn't know. Even if he broke the law cage on that Heaven Devil Master, it was impossible for him to bring Heaven Devil Master out of the range of the galaxy intent. The crack he created earlier was actually a slim chance. If the opponent used it to escape, there might be a 1 in 10,000 chance of survival. However, to do so, during that short moment when Emotians was puzzled, the Pangu axe in Wang Feng's hand landed on the law cage on Bibidon. The law cage that Emotians had casually set up was instantly broken by the sharp Pangu axe. You! The two pairs of eyes looked at each other as though they were worlds apart. Wang Feng's glabella lit up. The God-forbidden spatial zone enveloped several origins and entered Bibidon's glabella. Leave Dark Devil Domain. Return to where we started. Wang Feng transmitted with his divine telekinesis, and the Pangu axe in his hand rapidly vanished. He took away his origin calamity, origin godly king's inheritance, as well as the inheritance imprint on his body. He stored it in the God-forbidden spatial zone and handed it to Bibidon. At the same time, he also took this clone's cultivation level. What do you mean? What are you trying to do? Bibidon's heart trembled as he had an ominous premonition. Just do as I asked. Why are you wasting your breath? This is the only chance for us to leave this place alive. Do you see that crack? The crack that I cleaved open earlier contained a powerful force in the universe battlefield set up by the other party. Even the origin can't be used. However, I used the Pangu axe to cleave open a small crack. I can't leave because this guy has an extremely strong killing intent and is extremely cunning. Even if I leave, I will die. You will die too. However, only you can leave. If I were to stay here, I might still have a chance of survival. Wang Feng spoke in a deep voice. I don't understand. I'm not going. Bibidon's voice was trembling as tears flickered in his eyes. You have to go even if you don't want to. After Wang Feng spoke, he circulated his entire body's power and kept the God-forbidden spatial zone. He kept Bibidon into the God-forbidden spatial zone and threw the absolute treasure left behind by Crimson Deity Sky Fox into the crack. Under normal circumstances, even if there was a crack, Bibidon and Wang Feng wouldn't be able to leave. This universe battlefield, especially the galaxy above, contained too much willpower. Without the Pangu axe, they might be crushed by the willpower if they were to approach the crack. However, the God-forbidden spatial zone was different. It was left behind by Crimson Deity Skyfox, and was also an absolute treasure left behind by a universe-level lifeform. However, it was able to resist the willpower and at least one of them could leave. Before Bibidon could say anything, he had already vanished from the God-forbidden space. Along with the prismatic space that was only the size of a fingernail, it was like a shooting star that carried the universe will of the Milky Way as it vanished into the crack. Interesting. I forgot that you still have the God-forbidden spatial zone as a universe-level absolute treasure. However, I didn't expect you to use this item to send her out. Emotiance was momentarily stunned before he suddenly laughed. The human race is really interesting. It's a pity that you sent her away. Do you think you can escape? I plan to escape. Wang Feng looked at Emotiance with a relaxed expression, as though he was a victor. Not only did you use the God-forbidden spatial zone to send her away, you even took away your own origin power. Interesting. It seems like you are prepared to die? However, I didn't expect you to be so calm. Emotiance faintly felt that something was amiss, but he couldn't tell what it was. That's right. I am prepared to die. Wang Feng nodded seriously. Right now, his avatar seemed to have returned to its initial state. It didn't have any strength left. After leaving his main body, even the Pangu axe and chaotic green lotus martial souls disappeared. His main body returned to the Douluo world. What trick are you playing? Emotiance frowned and asked. He couldn't understand. It's only death. What's there to be afraid of? Do you want that Origin Wheel sacred artifact or Origin Wheel ability? Sorry, I don't have any. Wang Feng grinned. You might only have this. As he finished speaking, his body trembled. An enormous amount of life origin power erupted. Boom. Chapter 1604. In the hazy world, Bibidon slowly opened her eyes. As if she had just woken up from a dream, she suddenly stood up and looked around. This was the interior of the God-forbidden space. It was extremely empty. After the Heaven Underworld River disappeared, there were no more miscellaneous items in the God-forbidden space. This is your idea? Bibidon's face was as stiff as a corpse. Giving your origin power to me? Then staying behind to wait for death? Flames were burning in her chest as she couldn't accept this fact. When Emotiance wanted to find Wang Feng, she already had a bad premonition. However, the power of a universal being was far beyond a demon god's imagination. It was almost impossible to play tricks in front of such an existence. However, she still felt that Wang Wu was smart and wouldn't die just like that. It wasn't until Emotiance's first attack that she felt a chill. He wasn't someone who could be defeated by external objects. Especially with his scheming and caution, she couldn't see any chance of survival. Even so, she thought that Wang Wu couldn't win, and escaping shouldn't be a problem. Especially when he took out the axe that he used to challenge the God King as a titled Dalu. Bibidon thought that he could definitely escape. However, she didn't expect him to choose to do this. Instead of escaping, Wang Feng's 5 awakened origins surrounded her. They were like 5 suns that flickered around Bibidon. Especially the purple pattern that represented the origin calamity God King's inheritance and the heaven of light and darkness martial soul. No, you can't be so stupid. Bibidon clenched her fists and wanted so badly to shatter this God-forbidden space. However, as she thought back, she could only extinguish the flames in her heart and calm herself down. She wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and stared blankly at the void. When she first became the Rakshasa god and entered the god realm, Bibidon realized that she and her daughter weren't as harmonious as she thought. Later on, she wanted to descend to the lower realm. However, she couldn't see Wang Wu in the lower realm and would violate the rules of the God realm. She didn't like the rules of the God realm as they were too rigid. However, as the daughter of the angel god, it was the opposite. She didn't intend to descend to the lower realm. When she met her mother, she didn't talk about Wang Wu. She only talked about her views on the God realm and how to become stronger. Little Snow was especially interested in the history of the divine world. In just a few short years in the God realm, Qian Rinxue discovered that with their aptitude, the rules of the God realm would restrict them sooner or later. She still remembered it clearly. I want to leave the God realm. Qian Rinxue gazed at the rainbow-colored sky far away in the God realm. In 30 years at most, I might reach the peak of the first rank. You achieved it even earlier than me. After all, your divine body is naturally much stronger than mine. Speaking of which, Mother, how did you get your divine body? They are all born and raised by their parents. How else could it be? Bibidon replied with a frown. Her divine body was indeed very special. What was special about it was that Wang Feng had baptized it with a strand of chaotic divine light that gushed out from the chaotic green lotus after it evolved. He had condensed a divine body in advance. After becoming a god, his divine body alone was much stronger than that of other gods. Their aptitudes naturally couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. 168-inch. You are lying to me, Mother. Qian Rinxue turned around and looked at Bibidon. Before you and I, the only one who could make you lie to me is Wang Feng. Your daughter guesses that your divine body is related to him. Bibidon remained silent, which was equivalent to admitting it. Her daughter was sensitive and her intelligence was not inferior to her own. It was not very possible to hide it from her. Speaking of which, I was the first one to meet him. Qian Rinxue's tone was calm. Forget it. I am leaving the God realm. Where do you plan to go after leaving the God realm? Bibidon felt that it was inappropriate. Given your current strength, it is very dangerous to leave the God realm. I want to go to a place where I can become stronger. Qian Rinxue replied. If I had not met him and become an angel god, I would have no regret. I could live eternally in the God realm and pass on the throne to the next angel god when I am tired. Then I could roam the universe freely. Unfortunately, I met him. I know that if I stop now, he will soon surpass me. At that time, I may only be a pet under his wings. This is not what I want. Although her tone was calm, Bibidon could see the determination in her daughter's eyes. It is rare to hear you say something like this. Bibidon was stunned. Isn't this like your character? Qian Rinxue stretched out her hand and brushed her cheek. Actually, it is not bad for a girl to be obedient and gentle by a man's side. Unfortunately, he already has such a girl by his side. If I become such a girl again, I will feel very annoyed. Besides, I don't want to become such a woman. Bibidon. Mother, don't you think so? Me? Bibidon thought that this was the first time her daughter had talked about this after entering the God realm for so many years. It was a little strange. After thinking for a while, she said seriously, You are right. It is just that women do not need to rely on men. Those obedient women who only know how to please men are no different from pets. Mother, you are really shameless. If it were not for Wang Feng, do you think you would be where you are now? And your divine body, I don't believe that he did not give it to you. Qian Rinxue scolded mercilessly. I think you are unhappy with Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong, right? However, Bibidon smiled, without the slightest embarrassment on her face. Instead, she said calmly, Yes, without Wang Wu, the current Rakshasa god may not exist. I may have died long ago, so I understand this. I understand. If it were not for him, I would have died. Bibidon laughed at herself. So, I think you are right. Your thinking is also right. Then why do you still think it is not good for me to leave the God realm? Qian Rinxue asked. It is dangerous. Bibidon looked at Qian Rinxue with a complicated expression. I would rather you be attached to a man, even if you become a pet. Don't be a woman that men look up to. The former can at least let you live happily, the latter may make you leave the person you love forever. Humph. Qian Rinxue snorted coldly. I think it is you who wants to do this, mother. Then become the special woman in Wang Wu's heart, categorizing me and Ning Rongrong, Zhu Zhuqing, and the others. Sorry, I, Qian Rinxue, am not that kind of person. Then go ahead and do it. Bibidon was silent for a while. But at least after you leave the God realm, give me some response every once in a while. Don't disappear for no reason. No. I don't want you to find me. Qian Rinxue made a waving gesture. When we meet again, not only will I be stronger than you, mother, but I will also be stronger than Wang Feng. When the time comes, I will separate the two of you. Anyway, you can't beat me then. With that, she left. After leaving the God realm, there was no more news. Thinking back to the last time they met, Bibidon felt a little sour in her heart. At her level, there were only 1 or 2 people who were truly close to her. Now, she finally had some news of her daughter in the dark demon realm. Before she could find her, the person she loved the most was gone. In the end, I still have to rely on you, you stinky man. Bibidon's face showed a hint of self-mockery. Fine, since I have to rely on you, I will rely on you until the end. I am too lazy to fight. I will be a woman that you can look up to. I will just leave it to Xiao Shui. Is the original place the Douluo continent? Why do you want me to go to the Douluo continent? Moreover, the plain passage to the Douluo continent has been sealed by the Dark Demon Realm. Chapter 1605. God Realm, King City. Tang San frowned as he looked at the chaotic clouds in the distance. Third brother, what's wrong? Xiao Wu stood at the side and saw the worry in her lover's eyes. Why do you still look so worried? Isn't God Realm getting better and better recently? Big Brother Feng instigated a rebellion in the Dark Demon Realm and cultivated many excellent god seeds for the God Realm. Even if the passage to the lower realm was sealed, as long as there was a god to inherit the god position in the God Realm, the Temple of Faith could open a new plane passage. Furthermore, we even found news about your daughter. Logically speaking, you should be happy. Also, Dai Laohu and the others came back safely from God Realm. At least the backbone of God Realm is still there. It's just that there is no news of those God Kings in Dark Demon Realm. After Wang Feng left, God Realm secretly sent Demon Monarch Fu, he of Yunhai Pass, to find good seeds from the subordinate planes of Dark Demon Realm and cultivate them with the resources of God Realm. There were thousands of them, and they were considered to have successfully cultivated a batch of gods for God Realm after the war. However, they still needed time to develop. There is an earthquake in Void Dimension, Tang San said in a low voice. There are only 2 great passageways in the Void Element Sky domain, and they are respectively connected to the God Realm and the Dark Demon Realm. Such a huge tremor could be caused by a tremor that affected the entire domain in the Dark Demon Realm. It's no small matter. Also, I have a bad feeling about this. Xiao Wu looked into the distance in surprise. She was much weaker than Tang San, so she couldn't see much. But since Tang San said so, he must be right. Could it be Brother Feng? Xiao Wu frowned slightly. It must be. Tang San paced back and forth. Such a huge earthquake. I'm afraid it's the 9 great demon gods of Dark Demon Realm. His identity might have been exposed. But no matter what, Brother Feng should be in danger. Otherwise, I can't think of anyone who could cause such a huge earthquake in Dark Demon Realm. Even the Void Elemental Space domain is affected. Right? How is the Forbidden Divine Wall? Is there any news of Long Xie? Xiao Wu was silent for a few seconds and shook her head. The Divine Forbidden Wall suppresses the negative desires of countless gods in the God Realm back then. After he entered, there has been no news of him. However, the current situation is still good. The seal of the divine forbidden wall is much more stable now. Even if there are occasional disturbances, they quickly disappear. Long Xie must have done something to that place. It's just that, even if Big Brother Feng's little brother makes it out safely, I'm afraid. Xiao Wu thought about it and didn't continue. Instead, she changed the topic. Third brother, do you want to tell Rongrong and Zhu Qing about your guess? Tang San shook his head and said, No, it's just a guess. If I tell them, they will be worried for no reason, especially Rongrong. You know her very well. I'm afraid he'll run straight to the dark devil world. At that time, it'll be even more dangerous and Brother Feng will find it troublesome. That's true. Xiao Wu nodded. By the way, where is that person? Tang San turned to look at the other side. At the end of that position, the sky seemed to be made up of 7 colors, forming another world all by itself. It didn't look like a region of the divine realm at all. The silver dragon? She's been doing well recently, and I've been chatting with her from time to time. You might not believe me, but when Brother Feng sealed himself in the great Star Do forest on the Douluo continent, the Silver Dragon King was recuperating in that location. They already knew each other back then. Xiao Wu tilted her head and thought for a moment. This is fate. She's probably stronger than the dragon god now. After that silver dragon returned from the dark devil world, the silver dragon has been much quieter. She has already cleared out the area around Void Element Sky Domain. Tang San heaved a sigh of relief. The silver dragon was troublesome before. She couldn't differentiate between friend and foe, especially after being affected by the evil thoughts in the divine wall of Forbidden Realm. But even he couldn't subdue her, and she was getting stronger and stronger. Fortunately, after Long Xie entered the divine wall of Forbidden Realm and absorbed the evil thoughts, the divine wall of Forbidden Realm calmed down, and the silver dragon was much better. But Xiao Wu was the one who negotiated with the silver dragon. Speaking of which, the situation is very good. Tang San waved away the haze in his heart. At this moment, a voice flew over from afar and landed in front of Tang San. Your demon King Fuhi? What made you take the risk to come to the divine realm from the dark devil world? When Tang San saw this demonic shadow, he got a huge shock. Isn't this the soul demon that Brother Feng instigated in Yunhai Sea? He's always been in contact with me. God King Tang San. Something big has happened in the dark devil world. The low voice was like the cry of the night. It made Tang San shiver. Wang Feng felt as if his consciousness was swept away by the Milky Way, rolling in the river. He was muddle-headed and couldn't wake up. It was as if he would disappear at any time. After an unknown period of time, his consciousness slowly woke up. Wang Feng opened his eyes. There was only clouds in the sky. There was no sky above and no earth below. What is this place? He looked around blankly. He floated in the clouds like a lonely soul, drifting slowly with the wind. I'm not dead. No, my body should be gone. Then, I should be in a soul state now? Then, where is my soul? Dark devil world? Wang Feng suddenly startled awake. Countless scenes flashed in his mind like illusions. He calmed down. Everything was going according to plan. When Mo Tian's strength was far beyond Wang Feng's imagination, he didn't think of leaving alive. Because only by dying could he truly reach the well of reincarnation in the dark devil world. This mysterious place was also his ultimate goal in coming to the dark devil world. As for that clone, it was fine if it was gone. After all, he had already given the Origin Tribulation Divine King's life force and inheritance to Bibidon. What he had to give up was nothing more than that clone and his cultivation base. His main body was still there. However, the life force origin he used to self-destruct was real. But if he didn't use it, Wang Feng was afraid that he wouldn't be able to cause any danger to Mo Tiansu. If he self-destructed and died, Emotions who might sense his soul and obliterate his soul. That would be dangerous. Therefore, he used the life force origin to self-destruct. With such a huge amount of energy, he could at least interfere with Emotions. Even if he died, his soul wouldn't be sensed and he would have a chance to reach the well of reincarnation. According to Bibidon, one could only find the well of reincarnation after death. Wang Feng didn't doubt this possibility, because when this pre-devil Emotions found the well of reincarnation, he had already perished. He was only left in the form of a devil soul. What is this place? It doesn't look like the well of reincarnation. Wang Feng looked around. There was no sky or earth. Above and below it was a blank space. He looked like he was in the clouds in the sky. At this moment, there was nothing left in his soul. Even eternal God-slayer Yen Mengyao was stripped out before self-destructing and placed in the God-forbidden space along with the life force origin. In this place, he couldn't sense his main body in his soul state. Because it was a self-destruction, his soul was severely injured. It was also the reason why his soul was groggy before he woke up. Chapter 1606. As long as I find the well of reincarnation, punch in the card, and figure out the origin of the system, maybe there will be a turn for the better? Wang Feng thought for a long time and began to swim. He floated aimlessly in one direction along the clouds. It was not that he had never felt the state of his soul, but it was the first time for him to be in such a weak soul state. It felt as if it would disappear at any time. I can't just disappear like this. Wang Feng stopped in a cloud, his soul gasping for breath, like a thirsty person who wanted to drink water but found that there was only air in his mouth. It could not replenish his weak body at all. No, my soul is too weak. What the hell is this place? Wang Feng murmured. There was no way to go up or down. Only his soul floated alone in this cloud. He did not have the thought of extreme loneliness. After an unknown period of time, the surrounding clouds gradually disappeared and Wang Feng saw a blue sea. With the sea, the sky also had color. At the end of this sea was where Wang Feng was. The rolling seawater seemed to defy gravity and fly towards the cloud where he was. It flew into the sky and turned into endless clouds. At the same time, he also saw souls of different sizes. At this moment, an extremely dangerous premonition suddenly emerged in the depths of his soul. Wang Feng dodged to the side, only to see a beam of light slashing towards him from his position. It split the clouds in half. Wang Feng focused his eyes and saw a soul demon. It was a soul demon in the form of a soul. Is this a ghost demon? No, it's not a ghost demon. A ghost demon is cultivated from the demon soul of a soul demon. It has the same wisdom and consciousness as a soul demon. It can be regarded as a kind of life spirit. This is. Wang Feng looked at the soul of the soul demon. His eyes were lifeless, but there was a hint of scarlet in them. Obviously, he was extremely unwilling and resentful before he died. There was also a special energy in his soul. He should be the soul demon who died in the black tide. Wang Feng was silent. Before Wang Feng went to the fiend realm of Desolate Sea, the black tide had already infected many soul demons. Many of them died. Once a disaster like the black tide appeared, the number of soul demons killed was more terrifying than a war of gods. However, after a quick glance, the soul demon slashed at Wang Feng with a blade made of spiritual light in its hand. The blade was not a real weapon, but a manifestation of the soul demon's soul power. In other words, he might have been using this weapon when he was alive. As a result, after death, his soul consciousness gradually faded away, but his battle instincts did not disappear. Die, the hoarse whisper, filled with unwillingness and anger, stimulated the last of the devil soul's will. At this moment, Wang Feng's soul was very weak. Even in the face of this kind of attack, he did not have much strength to fight back. I'm so useless. I can't even defeat the soul of a soul demon. Wang Feng could not help but curse as he quickly floated forward to escape. With his soul when he was alive, even if he was really dead, his soul was more terrifying than a demon god. How could he be chased by the soul of a soul demon? With just a thought, these demonic souls would be reduced to ashes. However, the self-destruction had damaged his foundation, and his soul had almost completely disappeared. The fact that he was still conscious was already the best-case scenario. Otherwise, Emotiance would have noticed it long ago. With the strength of a universal-level life form, even if it was just a level 1 mind avatar, it would be easy for him to sense a mere soul body. How could he let Wang Feng escape? Fortunately, seeing the souls of these soul demons meant that his idea was not wrong. A dead soul could indeed see another world and find the reincarnation well. Emotiance, universal-level life form. Wang Feng's mouth kept trembling. He felt that he was one step behind. If the other party had appeared a little later, when he had 9 divine rings and obtained all the origins of Origin Calamity Godly King, he might have obtained a power that surpassed the origins. Even if he could not defeat Emotiance, he could still escape unscathed. If he had cultivated the ancestral realm, he would not be far from a universal-level life form. He would definitely have the strength to fight. However, he did not expect the other party to come so quickly. Universal-level life forms were hard to predict. At first, Wang Feng did not expect the Dark Demon Realm ancestor to be so decisive and murderous. Ancestral Realm, Qi transforming into 3 pure ones, Pangu Axe, Chaos Green Lotus. These things are probably coveted by universal-level life forms. If it was only one thing, Emotiance might not have gone to this extent. However, with so many things appearing on me, it's enough for Emotiance to kill me. Wang Feng sighed softly. Then, a fighting spirit ignited in his heart. As long as my soul is not destroyed, I will definitely destroy your ashes when I come out. The strength of a universal-level life form was beyond Wang Feng's imagination. The best thing to do back then might have been to hand over the ancestral realm. Avoid the sharp edge. However, Wang Feng could not tolerate the other party threatening him with Bibidon. If he had to do it all over again, Wang Feng felt that he might still do it. Just as he was thinking about this, the soul demon caught up with him. What made Wang Feng feel uneasy was that he saw a few more figures floating in the clouds. They were the souls of those soul demons. These soul demons should have been low-rank soul demons with extremely low strength when they were alive. Some of them were even unranked soul demons. In the dark demon domain, they might have been commoners. Therefore, after they died, their souls could not survive for long due to their low strength. Their consciousness was gradually obliterated. Only the most basic consciousness made their souls wander around in this world with no place to stay. In addition, they were annihilated by the black tide. The resentment of these soul demons was extremely strong. However, Wang Feng did not understand. Why did they target him? Why didn't they fight each other? I haven't found the well of reincarnation. I don't want to lose my soul just like that. Wang Feng stopped in his tracks. There were obstructions in front and pursuers behind. He reckoned that the further he went, the more souls of these soul demons there would be. Innumerable. Because many soul demons had died in the black tide. On top of that, Wang Feng suddenly recalled the battle between him and Emotiance in the Dark Devil World. Emotiance had used his Great World's aura to descend upon the Dark Devil World. Countless origins had formed the Galaxy River. That aura was something that all soul devils below the demon god realm in the Dark Devil World could not withstand. It was unknown how many soul demons would have died. However, it was nothing to Emotiance. As a universal-level life form with his own great world, the Dark Demon Domain was at most his homeland. Was it important? Perhaps it was, but what was important was only this land. As for the lives living on this land, it did not matter at all. If they died, they died. Anyway, this land would give birth to life. Wang Feng took a deep breath and looked at the soul demon behind him. In its soul form, the soul demon's body had changed a lot. The blade transformed from its soul power flickered with a cold light. It seemed to have thought of something. Wang Feng snorted. Then, he stretched out his palm and clenched it at the void. In an instant, the phantom of an ancient axe vaguely appeared in his palm. Wang Feng smiled. As expected, it's still here. It seems that I have to rely on you this time. End of chapter. Chapter 1607. In his spiritual state, he couldn't sense the physical object. However, Wang Feng could still sense the divine charm contained within the act. Previously, he had used the primordial origin to analyze the Pengu act. At the same time, he used the Pengu act's martial soul as the core to truly materialize the Pengu act's martial soul. It was a pity that Emotiance saw through it and didn't give Wang Feng a chance. However, in the end, the Pengu act's martial soul fused with the primordial origin. As the primordial origin was an origin that Wang Feng had comprehended himself, he didn't give it to the Bibidon like the origin Calamity Godking's origin. This was because there were some changes after the primordial origin fused with the Pengu act's martial soul. Martial soul. If he was still in the Douluo continent, he wouldn't be able to use the knowledge of the Douluo continent to uncover the essence of a martial soul and understand it. Even when Wang Feng awakened 10,000 years later in the Douluo continent, which had developed a certain level of civilization, he wouldn't be able to fully analyze the existence of a martial soul. What exactly was it? However, from the point of view of the gods in the divine world, or from the point of view of a higher-level life form, a martial soul was a very simple consciousness energy. When it collided with different world laws and different things, it would produce a martial soul. As a god could create his own martial soul. The Pengu act's martial soul was a wisp of consciousness energy from the Pengu act. In other words, the Pengu act existed, but it was broken. Only a wisp of consciousness energy was left. This wisp of consciousness energy was also called a remnant soul by Emotiance. It was obtained by him. To be precise, it was given by the system. It was the same for the chaotic green lotus martial soul. By analyzing this wisp of consciousness energy, the primordial origin might be able to restore the Pengu act's consciousness through this wisp of consciousness energy. After restoring the consciousness, it would be possible to create the true body of the Pengu act, which would be the true Pengu act. The primordial origin could only analyze the Pengu act's consciousness. In other words, it could restore the true soul of the Pengu act. The Pengu axe wasn't a simple tool. Emotiance said that the Pengu axe is a Genesis saint weapon. It's a saint weapon that all life forms in the universe desire. It's naturally not simple. The true Pengu axe not only requires the true soul of the Pengu axe, but also the true body of the Pengu axe. The Pengu axe martial spirit that I have now is just a wisp of Pengu axe's remnant soul consciousness. Fortunately, after fusing with the primordial chaos origin, I can use the primordial chaos origin to slowly analyze and perfect this remnant soul. The true soul of Pengu's axe was formed. With a true soul, even if it's attached to a weapon, or if it's purely condensed from divine power, it'll still possess great power. Now that he thought about it, even though he didn't have a primordial origin back on the Douluo continent, there was still a primordial origin. However, as a martial soul, Wang Feng used his soul power, soul rings, and the laws of the Douluo continent to slowly restore the chaotic green lotus consciousness. Then, he used his soul power to condense the various forms of the chaotic green lotus, even though it couldn't be maintained for a long time. However, its power was already terrifying to the extreme. However, at that time, Wang Feng was too weak, and the Pengu axe itself was a weapon. Even if it was just a wisp of a remnant soul, if he wanted to use it, it would put a great burden on his physical body. Now that Wang Feng had the primordial origin source and the Pangu Axe martial spirit had merged with it, even though Wang Feng's soul was very weak, he felt no danger from the Pangu Axe martial spirit's power. He stared at the axe in his hand. At this moment, the axe was no longer as dazzling as before. Without the infusion of divine power, the axe, which was formed from pure remnant souls, had an earth-shattering charm. Looking at the soul demon in the distance, Wang Feng didn't dodge. Wang Feng did not dodge. Holding the blurry axe in his hand, he directly chopped down. In an instant, his soul was split into two, and his already weak consciousness instantly collapsed. It turned into a wisp of soul energy. Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. Speaking of demonic souls, he suddenly thought of a problem. For demon gods, it was very easy for their demonic souls to leave their bodies. Just like those nascent soul cultivators in the immortal cultivation system, not to mention demon gods, even the lowest level soul demon's soul could leave their bodies. As long as one's spiritual power was strong to a certain extent, one could sense the power of the soul. Moreover, the strength of one's spiritual power was closely related to one's soul. As long as one's spiritual power was strong enough, one's soul could withstand the pressure of the laws of different worlds and be able to leave the body and achieve various means in the real world. Therefore, for soul demons, they didn't need to die to be able to leave their bodies. Then there was a problem. Since they could leave their bodies, why couldn't they find the well of reincarnation? Could it be that only the souls of dead soul demons could sense the well of reincarnation? Did it mean that the souls of dead soul demons would come to a different space in the dark demon realm? If the well of reincarnation was only in the dark demon realm, demon gods would have found it long ago. The only possibility was that the well of reincarnation was not in the dark demon realm, but in another space. And in this space, only those demonic souls who were truly dead could sense it, find the well of reincarnation, and enter it to be reincarnated. In fact, there was a place like this in the God realm. That was the end of the Star Soul Road. It was also the Sea of Reincarnation where Shiyu was. Similarly, only divine souls could enter the Sea of Reincarnation. The conditions were extremely harsh. The divine soul needed to have the cultivation of a God King before it could open the Star Soul Road and find the Sea of Reincarnation. Wang Feng remembered very clearly how he entered the Star Soul Road and found the Sea of Reincarnation. That was when Demon God Dai was buried in the Void Domain, and then a wisp of his soul remained silent, waiting for him to sense his existence. Only then did he awaken, open the Star Soul Road, and enter the Sea of Reincarnation. Otherwise, this scene would not have happened. The Sea of Reincarnation in the God realm required at least the cultivation of a God King to find it. Gods below the God King level, even if they died and were buried in the Void Domain, would enter the Sea of Reincarnation directly. They would not go through the Star Soul Road and then be reincarnated. Even Shiyu, the heavenly path of the God realm, would not be seen. Using the same reasoning, if I really want to find the location of the well of reincarnation, I need the soul of a demon god to activate the path to the well of reincarnation? Wang Feng looked at the vast land. This was Wang Feng's speculation based on his previous encounters. Wang Feng was not sure how likely it was. The conditions were too harsh to test. Let's call this place the Soul Realm for now. In this Soul Realm, if the Lord of Hell is also here, she can be considered the soul of a demon god. If she wants to find the well of reincarnation, then, what will she do? It was just a guess. At least he was not a headless fly. Moreover, Wang Feng found something interesting. After the soul of the soul demon was scattered by the Pangu axe, a small amount of soul energy was directly absorbed by the Pangu axe, although it was so little that there was almost no change. However, Wang Feng, who possessed the Pangu axe martial soul, felt that it had recovered a little. End of chapter. Chapter 1608. With the help of the primordial origin to analyze and restore the Pangu Axe martial soul, it means that I only need pure soul energy to slowly restore the Pangu Axe's true soul. Wang Feng's eyes flashed with incomparable light. If that's the case, it's the right choice to die this time. If I can restore the Pangu Axe's true soul before I find the well of reincarnation, the true soul will not be comparable to a martial soul. Even if I don't have the Pangu Axe's true body, I can infuse my divine power into the true soul and condense it into a simple entity to unleash great power. Even if Mo Tiance can't kill me, he can easily protect himself. I won't be forced to this extent again. Moreover, this might be the best state to restore the Pangu Axe martial soul. Wang Feng had never thought of this before. He had been pondering how to restore the Pangu Axe martial soul. Unexpectedly, in order to find the well of reincarnation, he hit the jackpot. With the primordial origin, he could cultivate the Pangu Axe martial soul. It's not a loss to die this time. Wang Feng felt the soul energy infusing into the primordial origin and then into the Pangu Axe martial soul. I still need to cultivate my soul. My soul is too weak now. It's heavily injured. After Wang Feng destroyed the soul demon's soul, he stood up. He looked at the souls of the soul demons floating around. These souls had been eroded by the black tide and had become lonely souls. Not to mention entering the well of reincarnation, they might not even be able to find them. Coupled with their heavy resentment, they might become evil souls that only knew how to kill. Wang Feng shook his head. Let's destroy all the soul demons in this area first. There were many ways to restore one's soul. He had the riddle of cultivating one's soul. But now Wang Feng felt that the riddle was not enough. At his current level, the riddle was not enough. But the riddle is one of the 9 secrets of heaven shrouding. It can be used as a reference. I can use the primordial origin to deduce and create a supreme art that is most suitable for my soul cultivation. Wang Feng pondered. The primordial origin was a powerful origin that analyzed everything in the world. It had no offensive or defensive abilities. It did not have any special abilities, but it represented infinite possibilities. However, the primordial origin needed powerful energy. To restore the Pangu Axe martial soul, the primordial origin needed soul energy. To drive this kind of origin, even if it was in the soul state, it still required a lot of divine power. If Wang Feng had been alive, he would not have been lacking in divine power. But now, Wang Feng looked around and looked at the sea below him. This place has countless souls, and this sea region. I can first deduce a cultivation technique that absorbs seawater and transforms it into soul energy. Then, I'll store a large amount of energy and deduce a complete soul cultivation system and matching cultivation technique. Most of his previous soul cultivation relied on the riddle of the word front. However, the former word riddle was actually not very good at the fiend celestial stage. To be precise, below the level of demon god, the riddle of the word front was extremely useful for the cultivation of the soul. This could be seen from Zhu Zhuqing and the others. Their souls were stronger than the souls of ordinary gods, and they were very sensitive to danger. They could even foresee some future dangers. However, the difficulty of cultivating it was extremely high. If one did not personally impart it, it would take a long time for one to comprehend it. When Wang Feng had obtained the primordial chaos origin, he had thought of using the riddles as a foundation to deduce a soul cultivation technique. In order to be suitable for other races, after thinking about the detailed actions, Wang Feng did not hesitate. He first cleared away all the demonic souls within 100 meters of the nearby cloud. There were hundreds of them, but hundreds of demonic souls did not cause any obvious changes to the Pangu Axe. The recovery speed was not fast. After all, these demonic souls were of a lower level. If the recovery speed of the Pangu Axe was divided into levels, the Pangu Axe might not even have risen by 1 level. However, Wang Feng was not in a hurry. After clearing the surroundings and ensuring that he would not be harassed by these demonic souls for a short period of time, Wang Feng immediately found a cloud and then slightly activated the primordial chaos origin. He began to deduce the cultivation technique. Because the cultivation technique required was not very advanced, the time was very short. It was like using a supercomputer to calculate addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division within 3-digit. Wang Feng could actually do such a simple cultivation technique himself. However, it was not as perfect as the primordial chaos origins deduction. But a moment later, the cultivation technique had already been deduced. Origin exchange technique. The name was very ordinary. If this cultivation technique was placed in a low-level martial arts world, such as the Douluo world, it would probably be an ultimate technique that could cause a bloodbath across the entire continent, right? Wang Feng wanted to laugh. The effect of this method was to transform other forms of energy into purer energy. Of course, it could only transform energy that was weaker than divine power. Divine power could not be transformed. For example, turning seawater into energy, turning flames into energy. The sea below should not be an ordinary sea. But the seawater is real. Wang Feng pondered. His soul was not strong now, so he could still use such a simple cultivation technique. He just used this cultivation technique as a relay. If he had the Devourer origin and the Elemental origin, he would not even need this cultivation technique at all. He only needed to use the Devourer origin and the Elemental origin to transform divine power and create all things. That was also why the Origin Tribulation Divine King was so powerful. The Origin could easily change the laws of heaven and earth. But even if it did not, it was not a big problem for him. After pondering for a moment, Wang Feng began to float down to the sea below. There are also demonic souls in the sea. I'm not sure how strong these demonic souls are, so I'll avoid them for now. He slowly floated down. Just in case, Wang Feng did not touch the sea. Floating on the seawater was in a forbidden state. This seawater, Wang Feng was suddenly stunned. At such a close distance, the seawater was somewhat familiar to him. He could not help but blurt out, "This seawater, could it be the seawater of the Heaven Styx River?" If that was the case, it meant that the well of reincarnation was definitely in this soul domain. How did the Heaven Styx River come about? In the history of the Dark Devil domain, it was the ancestor demon who transported the overflowing well water back to the Dark Devil domain and formed the Heaven Styx River. This means that this soul domain is also connected to the Dark Devil domain. Wang Feng's pupils contracted. If Mo Tian's history is real. Wait, Mo Tian's went to the well of reincarnation before, so he must know the secret of the well of reincarnation. He even knows the secret of this soul domain. Then, I have to be very careful. With Mo Tian's vigilance, it is highly possible that he will find this place. Thinking of this, Wang Fengxin became even more vigilant. Mo Tian's was unfathomable and was a universe-level life form. Although he had used the life origin to detonate, his soul had escaped Mo Tian's detection and was attracted to this soul domain. But if Mo Tian's was cautious, he would definitely come here to investigate. Moreover, Mo Tian's was a universe-level life form. He might even be able to break the laws of this soul domain. Thinking of this, Wang Fengxin did not let his guard down at all. Circulating the origin conversion technique, his hands were like a whirlpool that slowly absorbed the seawater. He tried to see if he could convert it into pure energy and inject it into the primordial origin. It would be more powerful and most suitable for his soul cultivation system and cultivation technique. Chapter 1609. This seawater is indeed the Heaven Styx River. When the seawater was absorbed by Wang Feng's hands, Wang Feng felt a strange power from the seawater. The water in the Heaven Styx River could bear the karma of a demon soul when it was alive, which was the wish power when it was alive. When he absorbed the seawater, Wang Feng felt his soul relax a little. This meant that if a demon's soul sank into this sea, it would slowly recover. In the end, even its memory might be slowly washed away, and then it would enter reincarnation. Unless it used this sea to cultivate the demon soul, like the ghost demons in the Heaven Styx River, it could maintain its original state. Being called a ghost demon meant that it could not leave the river because once it left, its soul would be contaminated with the karma of heaven and earth, and it would basically be destroyed. Although the change was subtle, Wang Feng could clearly feel it. It seems that the seawater in this sea is the overflowing well water from the reincarnation well. Wang Feng thought to himself. The seawater was no small matter. However, as Wang Feng quickly operated the yuan conversion technique, he could still convert the seawater into pure energy. It works. Wang Feng exhaled. The soul could not absorb this kind of material energy, so it could only be directly injected into the primordial origin and then deduced the soul cultivation method. The triangular primordial origin slightly operated, emitting a faint luster in Wang Feng's soul. Because it was a direct deduction of the soul cultivation method, it must be able to reach a certain level, at least to break through to the universe level. It must also be suitable for the current environment because Wang Feng could not leave this place for the time being. Time slowly passed. This sea was wider than what Wang Feng had seen. However, the speed of the yuan conversion technique was also extremely fast. Soon, as the seawater disappeared into the distance, waves surged out in all directions with Wang Feng as the center. In just half a day, the primordial origin's deduction progress had great progress. Wang Feng's soul was also immersed in it. At this moment, the surging waves suddenly pushed back from afar. The surging waves woke Wang Feng up. Soul demons? Wang Feng suddenly looked into the distance and saw several soul demons swimming toward him on the waves. As expected, there are also soul demons in the sea. Compared to those floating in the clouds and mist, the soul demons sinking into the sea seemed to be a little stronger. These soul demons had bright eyes. Clearly, they had a certain amount of consciousness and memories from when they were alive. He should be a soul demon. Even if they were swallowed by the black tide, their powerful demonic souls allowed them to be sucked into the soul realm, allowing them to remain conscious. In addition, the seawater washed away their karma, allowing them to retain their consciousness. Similarly, this should also be a demonic soul that was devoured by the black tide. This was because the surface of their demonic souls was covered in black runes, emitting a special dark aura. The energy in the black tide was very special. Even after the soul demons died, their souls could not be removed. It was highly recognizable. That's not right. It doesn't seem to be coming for me. Wang Feng's expression did not change, and then he sank to the bottom of the sea. He found that there was another soul demon in front of him, moving left and right, floating on the surface of the sea at a very fast speed. Behind this soul demon were several other soul demons. It sank to the bottom of the sea, about 10 to 20 meters deep. Wang Feng continued to observe. Soon, the pursuit passed over the sea above Wang Feng's head. Humph, a remnant soul wants to enter the soul-cleansing sea. With your aptitude, if you reincarnate, you will really tarnish the soul-cleansing sea. How dare you steal the carefree soul pearl in the soul-cleansing sea? Why? Do you still want to enter the reincarnation well? Ridiculous. If we don't destroy your soul today, we won't be able to survive. A whining sound could be heard. It was the sound of a soul, which was very different from the sound of a normal body. Soul cleansing sea? Carefree soul pearl? Wait, the reincarnation well. These soul demons know about the reincarnation well? Wang Fengxin said. It seemed that his guess was right. There were really certain conditions to enter the reincarnation well? After pondering for a moment, Wang Feng glanced at the soul being chased. Oh, it was a human soul. Interesting. The soul of a soul demon was very different from the soul of a human. It was not that there were no humans in the dark demon realm. On the contrary, there were many humans, but most of them were demons. But there were many humans in many small and medium-sized worlds controlled by the dark demon realm. These small worlds were controlled by the dark demon realm, and these small worlds generally did not have a reincarnation cycle. However, because they were controlled by the dark demon realm, it was equivalent to being included in the dark demon realm's reincarnation system. Just like the reincarnation sea of the god realm, Shiyu said that when he transmigrated to the Douluo continent, she sensed it. In other words, when a soul from another world entered any plane belonging to the god realm, Shiyu could sense it. This meant that the reincarnation of life on the Douluo continent was controlled by Shiyu. Similarly, this place was the same. So, there were not only souls of soul demons but also souls of humans. Thinking of this, Wang Feng pondered for a few seconds and decided to ignore this matter. His main goal now was to quietly deduce a cultivation method system that was suitable for him to cultivate his soul, and not to meddle in other people's business. He didn't want to cause more trouble. This soul domain was not simple. One had to know that a demon god had fallen in the dark demon realm. This meant that the soul of that demon god might be in this place. Thinking of this, Wang Feng continued to absorb the seawater unhurriedly. He watched quietly. However, the human soul that was running quickly suddenly jumped and sank to the bottom of the sea. Wang Feng was taken aback. He didn't expect the other party to sink to the bottom of the sea at this time. Almost immediately, the soul of the human noticed him. "Shoo!" The other party made a gesture, and said in a low voice with a bit of elegance, "These souls won't sink to the sea easily." Only then did Wang Feng see the soul completely. It was a woman. Her appearance was okay, no different from a normal human, but she looked ordinary. Wang Feng thought that it should be an ordinary human woman. This kind of human, after death, their souls were sucked into this soul domain, and it would be difficult for them to reincarnate. Wang Feng was silent. After a while, as the other party said, the soul demons on the sea surface floated on the shore for a while, and then left while cursing. They left a soul demon to guard this place. "Idiot, you leave this place as a mark. We'll go back and find a few helpers later. Be careful, don't touch the seawater. This is the underworld river, the outermost part of the soul-cleansing sea. It's specialized in cleansing the soul and can erase our consciousness and memories. That human dared to enter the sea, at most, he will die in a while. We'll go down and get the Forget Soul Pearl." Chapter 16:10. The soul demons on the surface of the sea whispered. After saying that, they left in twos and threes. Only one stayed on the surface of the sea, staring motionlessly. After these soul demons died, they became much more stupid. The soul of the human female muttered, "Where is engraved boat-seeking sword? What a bunch of idiots!" As she spoke, she looked at Wang Feng and whispered, "I didn't expect to see someone of the same race here. You didn't even say anything. It seems that your consciousness has begun to be corroded by the Nether River. But seeing that you are of the same race, I'll be kind today and take you away from here." As she spoke, she swam over, grabbed Wang Feng's arm, and then slowly swam forward. Wang Feng frowned slightly. He thought for a moment but did not do anything. He kept swimming with the other party. "Look at your appearance. Your soul is so weak that it's beyond recognition. You were probably very weak when you were alive. I don't know what kind of world you were in, but you're lucky today. I stole a carefree soul pearl. This thing can resist the corrosion of the Nether River." She dug around and took out a round pearl from her bosom. It emitted a faint luster. It seemed to be somewhat unique. This pearl. A faint light flashed in Wang Feng's eyes. This bead contained extremely pure soul power. The light emitted weakened the resistance of the sea. The soul was cleared. "How is it?" Can you tell me now? She said. After a while, she continued to ask, What's your name? Wang Aotian, Wang Feng said. Wang Aotian? Your name is a little arrogant. She turned her head and glanced at Wang Feng. She said in surprise, I guess you must have been beaten to death because of this name. She smiled and said, My name is Muro. The place where I was alive was a beautiful planet. Unfortunately, one day it was invaded by these guys from the Dark Demon Realm. Planet? Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. Yes. Muro sighed. It's called the Blue Planet. It's a very beautiful planet. Damn, from the Blue Planet? Why would the dead souls of the Blue Planet be in this soul realm? A huge dark cloud suddenly rose in Wang Fengxin's heart. The Dark Demon Realm even invaded the Cerulean Planet? Wang Fengxin felt a chill in his heart. The Dark Devil World's impulses were countless in every devil domain. Wang Fengxin didn't know how many worlds they had invaded. But there must be a lot. However, speaking of the Blue Planet, Wang Feng thought of another Cerulean planet. The wormhole from the Dark Demon Realm had transmigrated to another Cerulean planet, which was the Cerulean planet where the Imperial Border Devil God had been killed. At that time, he had borrowed the power of Sun Wukong and the Blazing Sun Heavenly Court to kill the Imperial Border Demon God. Could it be from the Cerulean planet? Are there a lot of dead people? Wang Feng asked. A lot. Mu Ro's voice was low. Our blue planet was too weak. At that time, there were many powerful existences in the entire universe that we could not imagine. Unlike us, who can only be considered as ordinary people with a little ability. We can't even survive in the universe. Later on, with the invasion of the Dark Demon Realm, no, it should be the invasion of many evil forces, our people were plunged into misery and suffering. Wang Feng remained silent. He remembered that when he entered the Cerulean planet through the wormhole in the boundless demon realm, the war that broke out was only a battle between the original universes of that world. It seemed to have nothing to do with the Dark Demon Realm. He did not expect that later on, many people died. When we died, we found ourselves here, Mu Ro said helplessly. But later on, we found that even if we died, even our souls could not escape. We could not even enter the cycle of reincarnation and be reincarnated. That's a little tragic, Wang Feng said. What about you? Mu Ro looked at Wang Feng. I empathize with you, Wang Feng said. Hearing that, Mu Ro immediately sighed. But then, she smiled and said, It's okay. The souls of us humans have our own community in this area of the soul-cleansing ocean. We humans don't have much, but we are united. Unlike those soul demons, who are divided into different regions and have different origin souls. We fight with each other. Oh! Wang Feng looked at her in surprise. He did not expect this. Actually, different humans will fight with each other. Mu Ro waved her hand and said, But in general, we have the same goal. We all want to cross the soul-cleansing ocean, enter the reincarnation well, and be reincarnated. Otherwise, our memories and consciousness will slowly disappear in this place. In the end, we will become wandering souls. Towards the end, her tone became heavier. Mu Ro was right. In this soul realm, even if one did not sink into the sea, his soul would slowly dissipate. It was just that the strength of the soul was different, so the speed of dissipation was different. If one was an ordinary human when they were alive, their soul would dissipate very quickly after entering this place. It might be gone in a few days, unless they were very powerful when they were alive. Do you know the location of the reincarnation well? Wang Feng asked. Of course. It's at the end of the soul-cleansing ocean. Mu Ro pursed her lips and glanced at Wang Feng. It seems that you just died. You don't even know this. We are now at the Nether River. It's the edge of the soul realm. Above the Nether River is the soul-cleansing ocean. After crossing the soul-cleansing ocean, we will reach the reincarnation well. It's just that it's very difficult to get to that place. Since you just died, let me introduce it to you. Mu Rou led Wang Feng in a direction and said, "There are many souls of soul demons on the Nether River. You should know how powerful those soul demons are. Their souls are much stronger than ours. The most ordinary remnant souls can condense soul weapons. Even if they have lost their consciousness, they still have powerful combat strength. They can easily condense soul weapons with their soul power. As for us human souls, one at a time." When Mu Rou said this, she felt that it was unfair. Wang Feng understood this point. The weapons he had condensed from the soul power of the weakest soul demons he had encountered on the cloud were very lethal. This meant that they were very powerful when they were alive. It was normal. In the dark demon realm, even the weakest soul demon was not inferior to a titled Douluo in the Douluo continent. Moreover, those were soul demons that were annihilated by the black tide. The souls of soul demons that died naturally were even stronger. Compared to the remnant souls, the more powerful ones are the origin souls that still have the memory and consciousness of the battle when they were alive. Those are too strong. When we encounter the remnant souls of soul demons, we humans can barely escape. When we meet those source souls, our human souls can only scatter. Then I stole a carefree soul pearl in the soul cleansing sea. It can temporarily sink to the bottom of the sea, so I barely escape. Otherwise, I would have been gone by now. The most powerful ones in the Nether River are the death ghosts. I heard that they were the strongest among the soul demons when they were alive. After death, their souls retain all the memories and consciousness of their lives. Even if it was just their souls, they still possessed great strength. They are also the souls that are most qualified to enter the soul-cleansing sea and enter the cycle of reincarnation. The soul-cleansing sea is above us. Mu Rou said, "The souls in the soul-cleansing sea were all demon lords when they were alive, great demons that could dominate a region. I heard that a few days ago, a demon god came to the soul-cleansing sea. I can't imagine that a demon god of the dark demon realm would die. Even if their souls are dead, I don't know how powerful they are." The soul of a demon god? Which demon god? Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. I heard that it is called the Imperial Demon God. What a coincidence. I am familiar with this guy. Wang Fengxin smiled. The soul of a demon god. How powerful was its soul energy? Chapter 16:11. Wang Fengxin was overjoyed to hear about the soul mastery demon god. Is there only one demon god? Wang Feng asked without revealing his emotions. Mu Rou looked at Wang Feng strangely. Why? Do you want two more? Just one demon god soul is enough to force all human souls to stay away from the Nether River. They are drifting alone at the edge of the soul world. If two more demon gods come, we souls don't have to struggle anymore. We can just wait for our souls to disappear. That's true. Wang Feng nodded. Why do I feel like you're in a daze like an idiot? Did you die without knowing anything when you were alive? Mu Rou looked at Wang Feng as if she was looking at a child. Her eyes were full of pity. Sigh, you probably don't know how powerful the demon gods of the dark demon world are. Wang Feng coughed a few times. He was happy to hear that there were demon god souls here, so he forgot about Mu Rou and the others' situation. After all, with demon god souls, it meant that no matter how harsh the conditions were to see the reincarnation well, even if it was the same as the divine world, he could see the real reincarnation well. There was a guarantee. This was great news for him. Therefore, from his point of view, he still hoped for a few more demon god souls. Moreover, the Pangu Axe martial soul needed the primordial origin to absorb special soul energy to make up for its deficiency. The stronger the soul, the more powerful the soul energy, and the faster the Pangu Axe martial soul could make up for its deficiency. I really don't know, Wang Feng replied. I only killed a few of them. Hearing Wang Feng's words, Mu Rou smiled and sighed. It's okay. Actually, we don't know either. The base camp of the human souls is just ahead. With that, Mu Rou pulled Wang Feng out of the sea. Wang Feng looked into the distance. He found that he had reached the end of the sea. At the end of the seawater rose up in the shape of a waterfall. It surged toward the sky and turned into countless clouds. It looked a little strange. After passing through the special Nether River waterfall, you will reach the shore at the edge of the Soul World. There will be a large island. However, the other side of the waterfall is different from the Nether River. Although there was no land on this side of the Nether River, there was abundant soul energy. Souls could survive for a long time in such an environment. After passing through the waterfall, the soul energy is very thin. It's similar to the real world, which has a great suppression on our souls. This was said by the soul of an immortal cultivator, one of the souls of the human race. Immortal cultivator? Wang Feng looked at Mu Rou. He pretended to be curious. Yeah, haven't you heard? It was the kind of immortal cultivator's soul that could fly and burrow into the earth, the kind of immortal cultivator's soul that existed in myths and legends. He came from another world where cultivators focused on seeking the Tao. Later on, this world was also invaded. Countless cultivator sects fought a great battle with the soul demons of the Dark Demon Realm, and in the end, the Dark Demon Realm won easily. Mu Rou's face was filled with longing as she said, "However, I heard from them that there is a celestial realm above them." He had fought with the demon gods of the Dark Demon World before. He did not know the result, but the world they were in was eventually invaded by the Dark Demon World. Originally, the souls of the cultivators who died entered the reincarnation cycle of the immortal realm. After being invaded by the Dark Devil Realm, their souls were sucked into this soul realm. They couldn't beat them when they were alive, and their souls were imprisoned after they died. These cultivators are really miserable, but the humans of our cerulean planet are not much better. We are even weaker than them, and our souls don't even have a chance to struggle. At least this cultivator's soul is very strong, and he still has some methods from when he was alive. Seeing that we are all of the same race, he will protect us a little. Wang Feng nodded. So that's how it is. In addition to the cultivators, there are many powerful human souls from other worlds. In addition to the cultivators, there are also those who cultivate martial arts, magic, origin techniques, and all kinds of powers. But they are all of the human race. Although they come from different worlds, they are still of the same race. I see. Wang Feng pretended to be enlightened. He naturally understood. The Dark Demon Realm had invaded too many worlds. We come from different worlds, but our goal is the same now. We want to be reincarnated, Mu Rou said in a low voice. At this time, they were close to the waterfall Wang Feng saw on the cloud. After pondering for a while, Wang Feng felt that it would be good to take a look. After all, he was also a human. Reincarnation, huh? Wang Feng sighed. What else? Mu Rou paused, feeling depressed, but didn't say anything else. After passing through the waterfall, Wang Feng saw small islands scattered like stars in the sky. The levels were not uniform, but they were orderly. The slightly turbid air made Wang Feng's soul feel uncomfortable. This place was indeed much worse than the other side of the waterfall. With the Styx River waterfall as the dividing point, the two places were separated. Wang Feng looked back. The Styx River waterfall reached the sky, and he seemed to have discovered something. He frowned slightly. Those demonic souls usually don't come here. For them, coming here to encircle us is more harmful than beneficial. Mu Rou heaved a sigh of relief and immediately floated out of the water. Then she carefully withdrew the pearl in her palm that was emitting pure energy. Let's go. Today I can bring back a comrade and steal a carefree soul pearl. Today is my lucky day. Mu Rou laughed. Oh right, you haven't told me which world you come from. Me. Wang Feng said. I come from the water ball. It's a planet similar to the blue planet. Is that so? Mu Ro was not curious about this and did not ask further. At this moment, Mu Ro brought Wang Feng to the shore of the nearest island. Just as they reached the shore, suddenly, from afar, a low whining sound could be heard. It was like the sound of some kind of musical instrument, with an ancient and heavy tune, slowly sounded from afar. Mu Ro suddenly stopped. She lowered her head, and after a while, she looked into the distance again. "What's wrong?" Wang Feng asked. "This tune." "Nothing." Mu Ro raised her head and glanced at Wang Feng. She said in a relaxed tone, "In the future, you might hear this tune often." "Why?" Wang Feng looked at her doubtfully. "Heh. You will know in the future. You just came here, so it's better for you not to know." Mu Ro smiled and patted Wang Feng's shoulder. Souls were not corporeal, so there was no feeling when they touched. However, Wang Feng felt that Mu Ro's eyes were filled with sorrow. Not long after they reached the shore, human souls floated out from various parts of the forest. "Hi, Sis Xiaoro. We went out to sea today and gained something amazing. I heard that none of the souls from the other islands came back. They were all caught by those demon souls. Miserable! Sis Xiaoro from our island is still the best. Yo, Sis Xiaoro, you brought back a compatriot. Little brother, your soul is so handsome, you must have been very happy when you were alive, right? Look, such a handsome human is dead. What does this mean? It means that the more handsome you are, the less you will live. Ha ha. Wang Feng saw the densely packed human souls walking out from the forest in all directions. Basically, they are all ordinary humans, maybe just ordinary humans from the blue planet. They can't live long in this soul domain. Wang Fengxin shook his head silently. Among them, there were some who were slightly stronger. But even compared to those soul demons who were not ranked, there was a big gap. Not to mention soul demons, in terms of spirit and soul, there was almost no one who could reach the level of a titled Douluo in the Douluo world. One word: miserable. End of this chapter. Chapter 16:12. The souls of normal humans would not be able to live for long in the real world. If they were sucked into this spirit realm, they would probably become nourishment for this spirit realm. Maybe that's how the abundant soul energy on the other side of the waterfall came from. Thinking of this, Wang Fengxin felt a chill in his heart. Mu Ro smiled as she dealt with the souls coming and going. She brought Wang Feng up to the island. "Passionate, right?" Mu Ro smiled and said, "After all, they are all souls. Most of the memories of normal people's souls have already disappeared. Luckily, they have forgotten most of their worries. That's why they are very passionate towards their fellow humans." "They are quite passionate." Wang Feng nodded. "How long can their souls live on average?" "Normally, half a month, the soul will slowly fade away. After 1 or 2 days, it will completely disappear. The more powerful ones can live for a longer time. Like those immortal cultivators, they call themselves nascent souls so they can live longer. As for how long they can live, I don't know." Mu Ro shook her head. Hearing this, Wang Feng felt that something was wrong, but he could not tell what it was. "What is a brave soul?" Wang Feng asked again. "What else can it be?" Mu Ro laughed at herself. "It's those who dare to go out to sea, to the river Styx, or even to the soul-cleansing sea to steal resources that can allow souls to live for a long time. Basically, it's a suicide mission. Most of the human souls here want to reincarnate and live for a long time. Don't underestimate us humans' desire to live. Although they are already dead, they know that their souls can still live. They don't want to give up any hope." Mu Ro took out the soul bead again. The smile on her face became gentler. Like this carefree soul bead, it contains very pure soul energy. With this soul energy we can live for a long time. As long as we survive, there is always the possibility of reincarnation. She said it casually, but Wang Feng recalled the scene when she was escaping and her life was hanging by a thread. "If we go out to sea normally, we can't dive into the river Styx. We can only float on the surface of the water. This way we can be easily discovered. So basically, it's a suicide mission. Mu Rou brought Wang Feng to a secluded wooden village. At this moment, countless human souls floated in front of them, as if to welcome Mu Rou. Sis Xiaorou, you are back. Today, it's our village's turn to hold the soul awakening ceremony. There are only 2 spots, and everyone is suggesting you. After all, it was thanks to you that the thousands of souls on this island managed to survive. A little girl of about 11 or 12 years old was the first to rush in front of Mu Rou, chirping excitedly. Awaken the soul? Mu Rou stared blankly for a moment before exclaiming in joy, "That immortal cultivator, oh no, that immortal master has come to our island." That's great, that's great. This was the first time Wang Feng had seen this young girl so happy. That's right. The little girl suddenly looked at the village behind them. She was a little scared and a little excited as she said, "That's right. This time, this immortal master even caught a devil soul. They're going to be used as sacrifices for the ceremony. When the ceremony begins, I'll personally kill them. This is the first time I've seen the souls of those soul demons." Demonic soul. Mu Rou's pupils shrank before relaxing. As expected of an immortal cultivator. You can even capture a devil soul. What are you waiting for, Sis Xiaorou? Let's go. The little girl said excitedly. After saying that, she saw Wang Feng and was surprised. This big brother looks a little unfamiliar. Did you just come here? No, I just died, Wang Feng said. The little girl was stunned for a few seconds before she giggled. Big brother, you have such a good attitude. You can still say that you just died so calmly. It was Sis Xiaorou who brought you back, right? Hee, then you have to hug Xiaorou's thigh in the future. She's going to become a bright soul with great power soon. Wang Feng smiled. As usual, he asked Mu Rou about it. Actually, with his current wisdom, even if it was the first time he heard about the rules of this island, he could understand them after thinking for a while. He didn't even need to use the primordial origin. The reason why he asked was because he was just an outsider. He couldn't show that he knew everything. Otherwise, it would be easy to arouse suspicion. Let's go. You can come with me to take a look. Mu Rou raised her head and puffed out her chest. She said proudly, "You probably haven't seen how those powerful devil souls dissipate in the world, right? Well, you haven't seen those immortal cultivators either. You can see for yourself later and broaden your horizons." Alright. I'm very curious, Wang Feng said. Mu Rou nodded. That's right. Wang Fengxin was very curious. Immortal cultivators? He hadn't seen them before. However, he had seen existences stronger than immortal cultivators. Previously, he met the old Grand Emperor in the Dark Devil World's Soul Demon Sacred City. He claimed to be from the immortal ancient nation. He even tried to rope him in, saying that if he went to the immortal ancient nation, he would definitely be able to attain the Emperor Dao immortal fruit, even if his credibility wasn't high. However, this old man's strength was just a spiritual will body. He was able to destroy the devil god fleet. His true strength was definitely comparable to a devil god. That old Grand Emperor wasn't an ordinary existence. That immortal ancient nation was also one of the top 5 great worlds on the Saint Spirit list. Mu Rou pulled Wang Feng towards the central square of the village. Actually, human souls were quite interesting. The trees and vegetation here were real, but they were tainted with soul energy. But in fact, souls didn't need these houses and various tools because they were useless. However, humans were used to these things. Although they were useless, they couldn't live without them. Even if they turned into souls, it was still the same. In just a moment, Wang Feng saw the immortal cultivator mentioned by Mu Rou. Needless to say, Wang Feng was able to sense a powerful soul fluctuation. Not bad. Wang Feng nodded. The immortal cultivator in front of him was a woman. She looked elegant and beautiful, wearing a white dress. Her black hair was like a waterfall floating on the ground. In her hand, she held a green sword formed by soul energy. In the other hand, she held a chain. The other end of the chain was bound to a devil soul. That devil soul wasn't strong. It was much weaker than the devil souls that chased after Mu Rou. It was similar to the devil souls that Wang Feng had encountered on the clouds. It was an ordinary devil soul that died in the black tide. However, no matter how ordinary it was still so powerful and invincible among humans. It's Fairy Meng. She's actually here. Mu Rou's eyes lit up again. That's great. Among those immortal cultivators, I dreamed that Fairy Meng would come to the village to hold the soul awakening ceremony. Immortal cultivator. Wang Feng glanced at her and wasn't disappointed. It was similar to what he had imagined. However, Wang Fengxin had some doubts. You're Mu Rou, right? At this time, Fairy Meng seemed to have noticed Mu Rou. She turned her head and smiled slightly. However, this smile froze a little when her gaze fell on Wang Feng. She immediately walked towards Wang Feng, looked him up and down, and slowly said, "Something's wrong with you." End of chapter. Chapter 16-13. Wang Feng's mind was filled with question marks. I haven't even opened my mouth. How is there something wrong with me? Could it be that this immortal cultivator can see something wrong with me? Wang Feng pondered. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with me, right? His soul was already weak, no different from an ordinary human soul. As long as he didn't condense the Pangu axe, no one would be able to see any difference. However, when Fairy Meng finished speaking, the expressions of many human souls around her changed. Fairy Meng, Mu Rou opened her mouth. He's just an ordinary human soul. How Wang Feng also looked at her with a puzzled expression. This person's soul is very pure. Fairy Meng stared at Wang Feng and said slowly, "Pure soul." Mu Rou looked at Wang Feng in shock. I don't think there's any difference. You're just ordinary human souls, so naturally you can't see it. Fairy Meng looked at Wang Feng with a strange light in her eyes. But I'm a cultivator, so I'm especially sensitive to soul energy. Ordinary people, even cultivators' souls, will more or less have negative karma on them. The more negative karma there is, the harder it will be for a cultivator to break through the bottleneck. In the world of cultivators like us, your souls are not pure. There's a faint gray in them, but I can't see it clearly because I haven't cultivated the Tao Eye. So, once you enter the Styx River, the negative karma in your soul will be absorbed, but your soul will also dissipate. This is because these negative karma will completely merge with your soul. Naturally, your soul can't stay in the Styx River for long. It's the same for those demonic souls. At this point, Fairy Meng's eyes gradually changed, and a purple light flashed. And his soul, in my eyes, is pure and flawless. This is very special. Hearing this, Wang Feng finally understood something. My performance is already very ordinary, but I didn't expect to be discovered, Wang Fengxin said. He had forgotten that no matter how weak his soul was, it was still tempered by the fire of the Red Lotus of Hellfire. To these immortal cultivators this was probably unimaginable. Then Mu Rou looked at Wang Feng in a different light. You said something was wrong. Is it good or bad? This kind of flawless soul, in the eyes of us immortal cultivators, is either the reincarnation of some Buddhist sect's Buddhas who have lived for thousands of years or the reincarnation of an immortal from the immortal world. Fairy Meng's tone kept changing. Looking at Wang Feng, a special light finally appeared in her calm eyes. That exaggerated? Mu Rou exclaimed. Then how did he die? Why did you come here? Could it be that the random person he brought back was a big shot of this level? This is where I feel that something is wrong. His soul is extremely weak, which means that he was weak when he was alive. If he was reincarnated, he wouldn't be so weak. Fairy Meng looked at Wang Feng. I'm not reincarnated. I don't have memories of my past life, Wang Feng explained. As for what you said, I don't really understand. Could it be innate? Mu Rou whispered. There are so many of us, there must be a few special ones, right? Fairy Meng did not say anything. She seemed to be thinking about something. At this moment, the devil's soul suddenly let out a roar. The soul chains that bound his body were pulled taut by him. Fairy Meng suddenly woke up. Evil creature! She shouted softly. Her fingertips pinched a strange spell. The long sword with a faint shadow turned into a stream of light and slashed towards the demonic soul. Most of the other human souls scattered in all directions in a panic. Only a few of them stood in place without any change in their expressions. The color of the long sword changed slightly. With a strong force, it continuously cut through the demonic soul's huge body. With every cut, the demonic soul's body emitted a sizzling sound of corrosion. It was as if it had been burned. There's something. Wang Feng glanced at it and his eyes turned slightly. Even if these immortal cultivators died and turned into souls, their nascent souls were still there. They could still use some spiritual spells that targeted souls, especially the soul chains on the demonic soul. He did not know how they were formed, but they were able to firmly lock the demonic soul. It also carried a more evil aura. This was what Wang Feng was most concerned about when he first saw it. However, this demonic soul did not have the consciousness it had when it was alive. It had forgotten many of its fighting abilities. It could only rely on its instincts to resist. It was very weak. After a while, the demonic soul calmed down. Its body was also full of scars. Its huge soul body was like a gust of wind, and it could disappear at any time. So powerful! Mu Rou's eyes were filled with longing and envy. Sister Meng, are you okay? She stepped forward and asked intimately. What can happen to me? Although this is just a small trick, this demonic soul is bound by the soul-binding chains. It can't break free. Fairy Meng withdrew her long sword and smiled indifferently. Wang Feng secretly thought that it was not a small trick. He could feel that the soul energy in Fairy Meng's body was rapidly decreasing. She had consumed a lot of soul energy. Mu Rou could not tell. But Wang Feng could see that Fairy Meng's arm, which was hidden under her robe, was trembling. Xiao Rou, there were originally only 2 people on your island for the soul awakening ceremony. But we can add one more. Fairy Meng said with an indifferent expression. She did not scold Mu Rou for being so intimate. Is it Wang Aotian? Mu Rou was stunned. She immediately reacted and said excitedly, Sister Meng, you want to Wang Aotian? Is that his name? Fairy Meng frowned slightly. She probably felt that this name did not match the otherworldly temperament of an immortal cultivator. But she still said, that's right. His soul is so pure. If he was alive, he would be 1 in a billion, a peerless genius who could step onto the path of immortality. But even though he is dead, his soul also has supreme potential. Maybe there is a chance that he can take you and open a path to the soul-cleansing ocean. Let you enter the cycle of reincarnation and be reincarnated. So powerful. Mu Rou looked at Wang Feng in shock. She was probably shocked by Fairy Meng's words. Did she pick up a treasure? It's just a possibility. Fairy Meng looked at Wang Feng and said, Mu Rou must have told you clearly that you came here. You should understand that if you want to leave this place, only by crossing the river Styx, entering the soul-cleansing ocean, and then entering the legendary reincarnation well, can you be reincarnated. Otherwise, in this place, even the souls of immortal cultivators like us can only struggle at death's door. You may not understand how powerful those demonic souls are, but you must have seen it just now. To a human soul, they are basically undefeatable. But we have a way to defeat them. I saw it. Wang Feng nodded his head. Noobs fighting each other. But there was indeed a redeeming quality. Chapter 1614. Seeing Wang Feng nod, Fairy Meng revealed a smile. In that case, Mu Ro, you brought him back. You can ask him, Fairy Meng said. Mu Ro immediately looked at Wang Feng solemnly. I agree. Wang Feng didn't wait for Mu Ro to speak and said, I'm also very interested in immortal cultivation, although I'm only a soul now. The soul awakening ceremony you're talking about should be to allow us mortal souls to cultivate, right? Mu Ro covered her mouth and laughed. You rascal, you're really quick to agree. Seems like you saw how powerful Fairy Meng is just now, right? Fairy Meng's mouth curved into a smile as she nodded slightly to show her satisfaction. Wang Feng smiled. He looked at the chains on the demonic soul and could see a small amount of soul energy flowing from the demonic soul through the chains to Fairy Meng. This demonic soul was brought here by Fairy Meng to show off her immortal power. Even the sudden rebellion of the demonic soul was controlled by Fairy Meng. At the same time, she was absorbing the soul energy of the demonic soul through the chains. This was not surprising. Those demonic souls could devour human souls. These immortal cultivators used this method to eliminate the demonic souls and even used it to cultivate and absorb soul energy. This way, the consumption of soul energy would be reduced, and they could survive for a long time. Wang Feng was not surprised or shocked by this. But, it's not that easy to absorb the demonic soul of a soul demon, Wang Fengxin thought. Soul demons were formed by absorbing dark demonic qi. Dark demonic qi was a kind of evil and powerful energy. The demonic soul of a soul demon, their soul and mental energy, in the words of immortal cultivators, were full of negative karma. If he absorbed it like this, he was afraid. He more or less understood what this Fairy Meng was planning. Good. In that case, I'll immediately perform the soul awakening ceremony for you. Fairy Meng said, but this time, there's one more person. I just used up a bit of my soul energy, so my soul is slightly weak. It's not enough to complete the soul awakening ceremony for 3 people. How about this, follow me back to Yunlai Island. We'll directly perform the soul awakening ceremony on our island and then teach you the secret of cultivating the soul. No problem. Mu Ro was even more excited. Yunlai Island was the island where these immortal cultivators gathered. Not only Cloud Gathering Island, but there were also hundreds of other islands of various sizes. The number of islands where mortal souls like them resided was innumerable. Then let's go. Wang Feng said, Fairy Meng, can the secret scripture you mentioned really cultivate the soul? Can you let me have a look first? Take a look first? Fairy Meng smiled and said, it's useless even if I show it to you because you won't be able to learn it. The secret arts and scriptures that we cultivators practice are like heavenly books to you mortals. Although your soul aptitude is not bad, you do not have a foundation. Just having secret techniques and sutras is useless. That's right, that's right. Why are you so impatient? Mu Ro glared at Wang Feng. Haste makes waste. Why are you in such a rush? But tofu tastes good when it's hot. It won't taste good when it's cold, Wang Feng replied. Mu Ro looked at him. Fairy Meng frowned slightly. She felt that there was a hidden meaning in his words. All right. Fairy Meng waved her hand and the soul sword stopped on the ground. She said, follow me on the sword first. I'll bring you to Yunlai Island. I'll explain it to you on the way. However, if you don't understand it, you're not allowed to ask me. If you're not a cultivator of my Tao, I won't teach you. Mu Ro immediately said goodbye to the surrounding souls. Then, she handed the carefree soul pearl in her hand to the youngest soul in the crowd. Village Chief, this carefree soul pearl can maintain the soul energy of the village. Place it in the center of the island. This way, for at least a few months, there shouldn't be any souls of our compatriots disappearing. Mu Ro took out the carefree soul pearl and carefully instructed. Fairy Meng looked at the carefree soul pearl in Mu Ro's hand and was stunned for a second. Then, she regained her calm. Wang Fengxin smiled. After Mu Ro finished instructing, she, Wang Feng, and another brave soul from this island stepped onto Fairy Meng's soul sword. They turned into a ray of light and flew into the distance. There was still a long distance between the island. Normal human souls could float in the air for a short period of time, but not for a long period of time. Even if Fairy Meng was just a soul, she could still fly in the air. Before I give you the secret method scripture, I have to explain it first. Fairy Meng stood on the head of the flying sword. She looked otherworldly. Mu Ro looked at her with admiration and envy. I am from Yunlai Jie's mysterious firmament sky sect. I belong to one of the branches of immortal Yunlai, the sky sect. It is one of the strongest immortal sects in Yunlai Jie. Our soul tempering techniques are the core of immortal Yunlai's 7 emotions immortal soul record. Wang Feng nodded. The name was famous and had its own meaning. I'll first teach you a soul secret method that can be cultivated to the foundation establishment stage, the 100 tempering soul mantra. I'll let you gain some knowledge. This method comes from the 7 emotions immortal soul record. It is the most extensive secret method for the disciples of our sect to cultivate spiritual sense. Spiritual sense is another name for soul power in the mouth of us cultivators. Fairy Meng's finger pointed at Wang Feng's forehead. Along with it was a flow of soul energy, which was as thin as a trickle. It turned into many thoughts, entering Wang Feng's soul. 100 tempering soul mantra. In his soul, an ancient book shining with golden light opened. Countless characters started to appear in Wang Feng's soul. Wang Feng scanned and instantly recorded these characters. Needless to say, this Fairy Meng really gave him a cultivation technique that could cultivate the soul. Also, with Wang Feng's knowledge, it really was a relatively orthodox method to cultivate the soul. However, as Fairy Meng had said, this kind of cultivation method was very difficult for ordinary people to understand. Without a master to guide them, they would not be able to understand it, let alone cultivate it. Many of the words were profound and extraordinary. In the middle of the divine palace, 3 souls gather into one, watching the sky and listening to the clouds. Anyways, it was some extremely ancient language. However, for Wang Feng, this method was child's play. Even if he did not use the primordial origin to analyze it, he could understand most of it with just a glance. Even if he did not understand the jargon of the cultivators, his vision was too high. He could stand at a higher position and understand this method thoroughly. After thinking for a while, Wang Feng directly recorded the contents of this method into the primordial origin. The primordial origin was deducing a method to cultivate the soul. It should be said that it was a complete system. In addition to needing a large amount of energy, it would be much faster if there was a method to refer to. Look at you, you don't understand it, right? After all, it is a method for cultivators. Mu Ro elbowed Wang Feng's shoulder. Don't be discouraged. Fairy Meng will teach us when the time comes. Wang Feng nodded. Fairy Meng smiled faintly and did not say anything more. It was normal that he did not understand it. It would be strange if he understood it. No matter how good one's talent was, without a basic foundation, it was impossible for one to cultivate. Are there any other methods? I don't understand this one. Maybe I can understand the others. Wang Feng pretended to be unwilling to give up. Yes, there are many more. Fairy Meng smiled, however. I can only tell you after you have cultivated the 100 refining soul-breaking technique and have reached at least the 80th refinement stage. Wang Feng nodded. At this time, Fairy Meng's flying sword suddenly stopped in the air. She said in a low voice, "You guys wait here. I just passed by a small island. There seems to be the aura of a demonic soul. I'll be back soon." After speaking, she left the flying sword alone and flew back. Interesting. Wang Feng narrowed his eyes. He did not sense the aura of a demonic soul. End of chapter. Chapter 16-15. It's the soul demons again. Mu Ro angrily looked at the direction where Fairy Meng left. In the past, there weren't many devil souls after the Styx waterfall. But recently there are more and more devil souls. Do you still need to think about it? Wang Feng said. Something big must have happened in the dark demon world. Large numbers of soul demons died. Mu Rou thought for a while and suddenly understood. That's true. Then the situation in the real world should be good. I hope my family is fine, Mu Rou said with a slightly dry mouth. All right, Mu Rou, how long have you been in the soul world? Have you heard of any human soul entering the reincarnation well? Wang Feng also looked at the direction where Fairy Meng left and asked. Yes. Mu Rou nodded. The stronger the soul, the more likely it is to cross the soul-cleansing sea and enter the reincarnation well. I have been here for more than a year. I heard from others that there was a very powerful immortal cultivator who crossed the soul-cleansing sea and entered the reincarnation well. There were also several powerful souls who led their clansmen to cross the soul-cleansing sea. They were either immortal cultivators or powerful souls from other worlds. However, since the arrival of the imperial demon god's devil soul, no human soul could cross the soul-cleansing sea. There were quite a lot of them before. Moreover, our situation is getting more and more difficult. We used to be at the edge of the Styx waterfall. Mu Rou looked around and sighed. With the arrival of the demon god's devil soul, and the sharp increase in the number of devil souls, we have moved to the edge of the Styx waterfall. Survival is difficult. However, the more soul demons die, the better the situation of humans in the real world. As for us lonely souls, we are just looking for a chance to reincarnate. There is not much difference whether it is difficult or not, Mu Rou said with a smile. Wang Feng thought for a while and did not tell her that the situation in the real world was not better. The increase in the number of devil souls was because of the black tide. Because, no matter what, they were just souls. Reincarnation might be the only choice. Of course, it might not be. Just as he was thinking, a stream of light flashed in the distance and Fairy Meng flew back. Her expression did not change much, as if she had just solved a trivial matter. Let's go. Fairy Meng waved her hand slightly, and the long sword that was suspended in the air immediately flew forward. On the way, Wang Feng asked about soul cultivation techniques in a roundabout way. However, Fairy Meng was very tight-lipped and did not reveal anything else. Wang Feng was not in a hurry. According to his original plan, he was going to deduce his own cultivation method and system. Even if he didn't delay using the origin conversion technique to convert energy to deduce, it would still take several months before there was a sign of success. Although a few months was not a short time, Wang Feng felt that it was a long time. He was worried that Emotiance would come to this world directly. However, if he could get the Grand Mist origin source to collect more soul cultivation techniques and store them as information, it would greatly increase the speed of his deductions. The more powerful the soul cultivation technique, the faster the speed. Cultivation techniques like the Qian word riddle were originally stored in the primordial origin as information. At the very least, it could increase the deduction efficiency by several times. Otherwise, if he were to forcefully rely on the primordial quintessence to deduce it, then he probably wouldn't be able to deduce it even after a few years or a few tens of years. After a few hours, Fairy Meng stopped at the edge of a cliff on Cloud Gathering Island. The soul energy on this island is much more abundant. Is that an array formation? Light of the triangular model flashed in Wang Feng's eyes. Instantly, he incorporated the model of the entire island into the primordial origin source and analyzed the structure of the island at an extremely fast speed. The speed of cultivating the Pangu axe will be much faster in this place. Compared to killing soul demons and devouring soul energy, it is only slightly slower. In the central core area, the soul energy is very abundant. There are 6 or 7 souls as powerful as Fairy Meng, and 2 souls even more powerful than Fairy Meng. There were surprisingly many immortal cultivators. In such a place, the speed of soul dissipation would be much slower. Wang Fengxin smiled in his heart. Immediately after, Fairy Meng led the three of them to the island, until a young man floated down from the island. Junior Sister Meng, I know what happened. Master asked me to come and fetch you, the young man said with a smile. Even though he was just a soul, one could see that the young man was extraordinarily handsome. His figure was tall and straight, and his eyes were filled with starlight. The strength of his soul was even stronger than Fairy Meng's. Fairy Meng nodded slightly and said, During this trip, I found an unpolished jade. If carefully carved, it might be able to help us and other human souls cross the soul-cleansing sea and enter the reincarnation well. After that, Fairy Meng pointed at Wang Feng with a smile. It's him. TSK, the white light is flawless. Although his soul is weak, it contains abundant qi of true self. It is indeed extraordinary. The young man glanced at Wang Feng and immediately praised him. Good, good, good. Behind him, Mu Rou saw this immortal cultivator from Cloud Gathering Island praising Wang Feng and was immediately overjoyed. After all, Wang Aotian was brought back by her. Wang Aotian, don't be arrogant. Perform well. Look, these immortal cultivators all said that you can lead us into the reincarnation well. Mu Rou nudged Wang Feng's shoulder with her elbow and giggled. No problem. Wang Feng looked at her meaningfully. When the time comes, I will definitely bring all of you into the reincarnation well to be reincarnated. Then we will depend on you. Mu Rou nodded repeatedly. Fairy Meng looked at the three of them and said, Mu Rou, Shang Jun, the two of you follow me. I will leave senior brother to you. Shang Jun was the other immortal cultivator from Mu Rou's island. She was one of the two candidates for the soul awakening ceremony. He was a young man with an honest, simple, and taciturn face. He did not say anything along the way and did not respond to any of the others. After Fairy Meng finished speaking, she led the two of them in another direction. My name is Yunmiu. You can call me Senior Brother Yun. The young man looked at Wang Feng with an excited expression. During the soul awakening ceremony, our master may personally perform it for you. With the aptitude of your soul, even the soul-cleansing sea will be a piece of flat land for you. There will be no pressure at all. I didn't expect that after our Heaven Ascension sect was destroyed, we would still be able to meet such a soul in this muddled world. The heavens are really protecting our sect. Yunmiu looked at the sky with a somewhat pious expression. Senior Brother Yun, was your Heaven Ascension sect completely destroyed by the Dark Devil world? Wang Feng asked. Yunmiu heaved a long sigh. Our Heaven Ascension sect was the strongest immortal sect in the Cloud Gathering world. We had the method to become an immortal, but the Dark Devil world's methods were too strange. After we were defeated, not only was our sect destroyed, the other great immortal sects were also destroyed. In the past few years on Cloud Gathering Island, we were gradually forced to retreat to the edge of the Styx River waterfall. No matter how strong the souls of our disciples were, it was difficult for them to resist the continuous attacks of the devil souls. More than half of their souls have already disappeared. Now, there are only a few dozen of them left on Cloud Gathering Island. They are the only ones left. End of chapter. Chapter 16:16. I see. Wang Feng nodded. That's quite tragic. By the way, are the souls of those who went through the awakening ceremony and became disciples of the sect on the island? No, they are not. Yunmiu shook his head. They are the fresh blood that was absorbed into the sect. They followed the seniors of the sect to train and improve their soul cultivation. Only a small number of them are cultivating in seclusion, and their cultivation bases are relatively low. As Yunmiu led Wang Feng to the island, he introduced the island to him. After a short while, they arrived in front of an ancient and majestic palace. These objects are purely symbolic to us who don't have physical bodies, Yunmiu explained with a smile. Yunmu explained with a smile. Although it's not very useful, the basic rules are still there. Inside the palace is the master of my lineage. His name is Meng Yuanqing. His soul is comparable to Bai Hun. Bai Hun was the most powerful devil soul in the Netherworld River. According to Wang Feng's estimation, these soul devils were at most high-rank soul devils. They had not reached the level of devil monarchs. However, a high-rank soul devil could sweep through any small or medium world. It would not be a problem for them to destroy small or medium worlds. Above high-rank soul devils was devil monarch. The gap between heaven and earth seemed to be only one realm apart, but it was actually thousands of miles apart. This was because devil monarchs needed to comprehend the origin. In other words, Yunmu's master was a publicly recognized expert in the Cloudfall realm. It was not difficult for him to break through the void. Meng Yuanqing? Fairy Meng. Wang Feng said doubtfully. They are father and daughter. Yunmu opened the door of the palace in a serious manner. In fact, he did not need to open the door. His soul could directly float in. However, he still needed to have a sense of ceremony. Not to mention immortal cultivators, even the most ordinary humans paid attention to ceremony. As soon as he entered, Wang Feng felt a very unique soul pressure. In front of him, a seemingly corporeal middle-aged man stood in the middle of the palace. There were a total of 6 men and women sitting around him. They seemed to be talking. Their expressions were solemn, and it was unknown what they were talking about. They only stopped talking when Yunmu entered, and their gazes fell on Wang Feng. Presumably, Fairy Meng had already explained the situation clearly before they came. Little Meng is right. This kind of flawless soul does not have a trace of negative karma. It's not even possible for a banished immortal to be reincarnated. It's a miracle. How could such a soul appear in such a muddle-headed soul realm? Unbelievable. This child should have been a pure child who had never experienced the affairs of the world. Otherwise, even if he was the reincarnation of an exiled immortal, it would be impossible for him to have such a pure soul after experiencing the mortal world. The soul-cleansing sea contains powerful karma that poses a great threat to our souls. However, it is completely ineffective against him. That dark devil world doesn't know what's good for them. They actually slaughtered such talented people. How lamentable. All of a sudden, these cultivators said something similar to what Fairy Meng had said. However, their expressions were all different. There were sighs, laments, strangeness, amazement. Wang Feng looked around and his gaze landed on the middle-aged man whose soul seemed to have materialized. He looked like a projection of reality. His soul didn't feel like it was floating. Instead, it felt real. Wang Feng pondered for a moment and came up with a plan. At this moment, Yunmu was about to speak. However, the middle-aged man interrupted him. Mu, there's no need for introductions. We have already prepared the soul awakening ceremony. Child, come to the center. We will help you cultivate your soul. Fight for a chance to reincarnate. Yunmu nodded and looked at Wang Feng. Go. Wang Feng smiled and nodded. Then, he walked forward. The middle-aged man looked at the other 6 people and nodded to each other. The 6 people immediately dispersed, leaving only the middle-aged man. Meng Yuanqing was the name of this middle-aged man. He was also Yunmu's master. He was also the leader of the cultivators on Cloud Gathering Island. At this moment, he stared seriously at Wang Feng. His soul suddenly expanded and turned into a huge human-shaped soul that was 7 to 8 meters tall. Clouds and mist drifted. The powerful soul pressure of this Dharma idol true body caused strong winds to blow in all directions. Rays of light began to appear on the ground. Like optical cables, they spread from all directions and finally gathered at Wang Feng's feet. Wang Feng remained silent and motionless, as if he was waiting for something. At this moment, Meng Yuanqing muttered a few words as if he was chanting some kind of spell. However, in less than a second, his body suddenly emitted a beam of soul divine light that shot up to the sky and rushed out of the palace. Then, it descended from the sky and rushed toward Wang Feng. A huge amount of soul energy. Wang Feng sighed. These cultivators still had some tricks up their sleeve. Although it wasn't too obvious. At the same time, on the other side, Fairy Meng led Mu Rou and Shang Jun to the other side of the island. After walking for about half an hour, they arrived at a square. In the center of the square, there was a square black cauldron. This black cauldron was made of the rocks on the island and looked very ordinary. Alright, let's start the soul awakening ceremony here. Fairy Meng looked at the two and nodded. You two go under the cauldron. There is an array for the soul awakening ceremony here. I don't need to set up an extra array. Just as she finished speaking, in the distance, at the center of the island, there was an intense light. Wow, what's that? Mu Rou looked at it in surprise. That, Fairy Meng smiled. It's the soul awakening ceremony. It should be performed by our master. Plus, Wang Aotian's soul is extraordinary, so it caused a huge commotion. This commotion is too exaggerated, Mu Rou exclaimed. However, there was a look of longing on her face. I didn't expect that a random human soul I brought back would be so powerful, that's right. Fairy Meng nodded. Then, she said, let's start. Although he is extraordinary, you don't need to think too much. In this world, we all have to reincarnate. No matter how strong our soul cultivation is, after reincarnation, it's the same. We have to start all over again. Mu Rou frowned slightly. She felt that these words were a little strange. However, the other party's identity was special. She didn't dare to refute. She walked with Shang Jun to the cauldron. Just as they walked down, Shang Jun suddenly said, Mu Rou, I suddenly don't want to cultivate my soul anymore. Are you stupid? Mu Rou looked at her strangely. Shang Jun, you are a warrior of our island. Being chosen by these cultivators and origin martial artists to cultivate your soul to become stronger, isn't that something you dream of? Otherwise, we won't even have the chance to reincarnate. Not to mention bringing our compatriots into the reincarnation well to reincarnate. We won't even be able to get out of the river Styx. Do you want to listen to the Requiem song on our island every day? No. Shang Jun shook her head. Then I just feel that. Shang Jun thought for a while and didn't know what to say. Muffled. He suddenly looked at the cauldron and said, I feel that there is something wrong with this cauldron. What's wrong with it? Fairy Meng, let's start. Mu Rou looked at Fairy Meng in the distance and said loudly. Fairy Meng nodded. She first looked into the distance. She noticed that the light pillar was gradually disappearing. A smile appeared on her face. Then, she formed a seal with one hand and hit the cauldron. In an instant, the cauldron trembled. Boom! A terrifying aura surged out from the cauldron like a shocking wave. Mu Rou and Shang Jun, who were below the cauldron, felt as if their souls were being pricked by needles. The feeling of suffocation spread throughout their souls. Fairy Meng, why is this soul awakening ceremony so painful? Mu Rou was shocked. When I saw the soul awakening ceremony before, those souls all looked like they were enjoying it. That's right. Fairy Meng said indifferently, comfort is reserved for immortal cultivators. If you can't bear this kind of pain, how can you become immortal cultivators? How can your souls become stronger? Is that so? Mu Rou's soul felt extremely lost. She felt as if her consciousness was fading away. Not enough. At this moment, a hoarse voice suddenly came from the cauldron. It was sharp and low. It was like a low roar that echoed in the abyss. It made one's hair stand on end. Fairy Meng saw this and immediately took out a round pearl from her clothes. Mu Rou, who had yet to lose her consciousness, saw this pearl. Her eyes widened. This is my carefree soul pearl. Fairy Meng, why is it with you? End of chapter. Chapter 16-17. The carefree soul pearl was only a crystal formed by the soul energy in the soul-cleansing sea. It was a rare item. At this moment, Mu-Ro vaguely understood something. She wasn't slow or stupid. The moment she saw the carefree soul pearl, she recalled what had happened on this trip and guessed something. You left earlier to return to the island and snatch this carefree soul pearl from the hands of the people on the island? Mu-Ro's eyes reddened. But at this moment, the huge suction force from the cauldron made it difficult for her to move. Her soul was disappearing at an extremely fast speed, especially when Fairy Meng put the carefree soul pearl into the cauldron. An even stronger suction force suddenly erupted from the cauldron, quickly pulling Mu-Ro and Shang Jun's souls into it. Not enough. Still not enough. A violent roar came from the cauldron again. Fairy Meng ignored Mu-Ro and frowned slightly. Then, she said in a low voice, "There is still one more soul. I believe this soul should satisfy you." After saying that, Fairy Meng looked at the golden light pillar on the island with a deep gaze. A cold snort came from the cauldron. Why? Mu-Ro's soul became more and more transparent. Her body slowly disappeared from the bottom. But the angry roar was very loud, as if it was not the voice she should be emitting. Fairy Meng glanced at her indifferently and did not say a word. That gaze was very strange. There was the indifference of looking down on all living beings, but there was also a sigh. Fairy Meng, Shang Jun muttered. After the souls of the human race were forced out of the Styx waterfall, almost the entire human race was in a state of huddling together. Whether they were immortal cultivators or other experts when they were alive. Basically, they were united in order to let their souls survive. In order to let the souls of ordinary humans be able to fight against the demonic souls, every once in a while, they would choose some human souls with good qualifications to be taught and nurtured, to increase the combat power of the human side. For example, Fairy Meng was a very famous immortal cultivator in the surrounding hundreds of islands, not only because she came from Cloud Gathering Island, but also because she often helped the surrounding islands to kill the demonic souls that had recently drifted over from the end of the waterfall. She had high prestige and was very strong. Her appearance could be said to satisfy almost all the requirements of a fairy among cultivators. Even if it was just a soul, her charm was enough to kill anyone. But Mu-Ro didn't expect, she said, there is another soul. Could it be Wang Aotian? Mu-Ro's eyes were somewhat dazed as she looked at the light pillar in the distance. Her soul consciousness gradually became blurry. It's my fault. This thought flashed through Mu-Ro's mind before her soul consciousness dissipated. Meanwhile, in the highest palace on the island, vast amounts of soul energy seemed to fall from the array in the sky, rushing towards Wang Feng's location like rivers returning to the sea. It was as if Wang Feng's body was going to explode. Success. Meng Yuanqing looked at Wang Feng with a complicated expression. What a pity! It is indeed a pity. If our human race's situation hadn't reached such a stage, this child might really be able to become the savior of the world. His soul aptitude is indeed too good. Such a pure soul, coupled with the soul energy stored in our sect, rushed in all at once. He was unable to withstand it and could only disperse his soul. However, Senior Brother Meng's soul-controlling body-severing technique was able to preserve his soul. As a sacrifice, the people around Meng Yuanqing shook their heads, but there wasn't much emotion in their eyes. This child's heart is pure. He didn't do anything evil when he was alive. He didn't even suspect much. That's why he has such a pure soul. It's a pity, as they murmured in low voices. At this time, a low voice came from the golden light in the center of the array. Hey, I said, why are you doing this? What's your purpose? I'm about to die. Can't you let me die, understand? Hearing this voice, Meng Yuanqing and the other cultivators stilled. Fine. Our mysterious heaven sect is a righteous sect in the cloud-coming domain. We've never done anything that goes against our Tao heart. It's good that you understand. Meng Yuanqing looked at the sky and said, Child, in your eyes, we're high and mighty cultivators. Even if we die, we're still extremely powerful. In the cloud-coming domain, our mysterious heaven sect is the leader of the righteous sect, the leader of the immortal Tao in the world. We've inherited the legacy of immortal cloud coming. But after he died, we did such a thing. We secretly used you ordinary human souls as vessels to do things that go against our Tao heart. But, speaking of this, Meng Yuanqing's eyes turned cold. Senior Marshal Brother Meng. A man next to him warned, Be careful of traps. Traps? Meng Yuanqing smiled and said, He's just an ordinary human soul. What traps can he have? And the soul-controlling body-severing art has been completed. No matter how strange he is, it's useless. What's the harm in telling him? Since we came out of the Nether River waterfall, there's only a slim chance of survival for us human souls. The man sighed and shook his head. From what you said, you're hiding something. Wang Feng's voice came slowly. It got lower and lower as if it would disappear at any time. Not really, Meng Yuanqing said lightly. Child, you don't understand. This soul world is much more complicated than you think. We're not doing this to let those ordinary human souls fade away. On the contrary, you're doing this for them? Wang Feng asked in surprise. Not completely. It's for ourselves, Meng Yuanqing said slowly. A demon god soul has descended into the soul-washing sea. We basically have no chance of entering the reincarnation well. It's because the demon god soul is too powerful. It's not something we can resist. Isn't it just a demon god? Is it that exaggerated? Wang Feng said, You cultivators have always believed in going against the heavens. You inherited the immortals' orthodoxy. Is a demon god enough to suppress you to the point that you can't even breathe? A demon god? Meng Yuanqing shook his head and laughed self-deprecatingly. It's far more than one demon god. That imperial demon god is just a demon god who publicly appeared in the soul-washing sea. In fact, not long ago, a second demon god descended into the soul world. And this demon god hates us humans to the core. He didn't go to the soul-washing sea. Instead, he came to the area outside of the Nether River. The demon god's soul is unbelievably powerful. He didn't directly destroy all of our human souls. Instead, he turned them into countless demonic thoughts and landed on various small islands. Hearing this, Wang Feng let out a long oath. To him, destroying us is as simple as a sneeze. But this demon god didn't do that. Instead, he made a deal with us. As long as we continuously bring him the best human souls, not only will he not attack us, he'll even take us into the reincarnation well. You believe the demon god's words? Wang Feng asked. We have no choice but to believe, Meng Yuanqing said faintly. Meng Yuan said calmly, If we don't do that, he will immediately destroy all of our human souls. Wang Feng. Every once in a while, we'll go and collect the souls of ordinary humans. Sometimes we can't find any and can only rely on ourselves. Meng Yuanqing looked at the sky again. We're cultivators and don't have much affection for ordinary humans. But our Ascension Heavenly sect is a righteous sect and won't kill the innocent. Even souls are the same. Because you're a soul, once you disappear, you won't even have the chance to transcend. You'll disappear forever. So, I've fulfilled your wish and told you this. Wang Feng was silent for a while after hearing this. Chapter 16-18. The hall fell silent for a while. After a while, Haven't you ever thought that the other party is playing with you? Why would a demon god need a human soul? Wang Feng said. Why hasn't his soul faded yet? Meng Yuanqing felt a little strange, but he still answered. Even if he's playing with us, we have no choice. Meng Yuanqing's words carried a hint of bitterness. Some of us suspected it, but they were all killed by him in a few hours. Not even a trace of soul energy was left. It did not feel good to be at the mercy of others. Wang Feng could not confirm whether what they said was true or not. However, considering the situation, it did not make any sense for them to lie to him. It was most likely true. As for that demon god, Wang Feng probably knew who he was. That's a pity. Wang Feng sighed. Sorry, I don't like the taste of being at the mercy of others. Led by Meng Yuanqing, the cultivators of Yunlai Island frowned when they heard this. However, as soon as Wang Feng finished speaking, suddenly, the beam of soul energy began to twist and turn like a tornado. Then, it slowly shrank and finally disappeared completely as if it had been absorbed, until Wang Feng's figure appeared. For a moment, Meng Yuanqing was stunned and did not come to his senses at all. The other cultivators were the same. You. Meng Yuanqing looked at Wang Feng in a daze. No, the soul-driving body-severing technique is the supreme technique of the demon Tao. It's impossible for an ordinary human soul to break free from it. Wang Feng looked at them with a heavy heart. Let me ask you a question. Wang Feng suddenly said, I've observed this place. Although the soul energy on this smiling path is very rich, it's impossible to gather such a huge torrent of soul energy just now. How did you accumulate it? Meng Yuanqing opened his mouth. Naturally, we sacrificed the souls of those ordinary humans, the man beside Meng Yuanqing replied slowly. Senior, where are you from? Ordinary human souls? Although Wang Feng had guessed it, he was still stunned for a long time. Just to sacrifice them to that demon god? I'm thinking, what's the difference between you and the soul demon? Senior, you think it's a lot? The soul of a middle-aged man with a big belly walked out. Even at this time, they had already noticed Wang Feng's extraordinariness. But they did not panic too much. Wang Feng could see from their eyes that they were in a state of numbness. Not much? Wang Feng said, with such a huge amount of soul energy, you must have collected at least hundreds of thousands of human souls. Senior, do you know that our cloud-gathering island went from having several hundred people in the past to less than 100 now? Meng Yuanqing came back to his senses and smiled. There are indeed hundreds of thousands of human souls. Because these human souls aren't of high quality, it's useless to offer them directly to that demon god. Only by gathering them together will they be useful. But Senior definitely doesn't know that this is the result of our control. If it weren't for the sacrifice of our Cloud-Gathering Island's disciples, the Cloud-Gathering Island's Cloud-Gathering Island wouldn't have survived. This number needed to be multiplied by tens of times. Only then can we satisfy that demon god's appetite. But it's different for someone like you, Senior. Perhaps just one of you is enough to satisfy this demonic god. With that, Meng Yuanqing waved his hand behind him. In an instant, countless memorial tablets appeared in the hall. I died once in Cloud Coming Jie. Only after becoming a soul would one truly die. These memorial tablets are just for the sake of commemoration. Tens of thousands of powerful cultivators died in the battle between Cloud Coming Jie and the Dark Demon Jie. Their souls were sucked into the soul world, and most of them became nourishment for this world. Meng Yuanqing's tone was calm. After retreating to the area outside the Nether River waterfall, there were only 100 or so people left. After encountering that demon god, the number of souls decreased even more. To be blunt, the souls of those normal humans can't compare to the soul of one of our disciples. Even if they're reincarnated, the cultivators of Cloud-Gathering Island have only collected hundreds of thousands of human souls in these days. His tone was calm, as though the hundreds of thousands of human souls were very few. Indeed, compared to the number of human souls now, it was very few. In the area outside the Nether River waterfall, there were countless islands of various sizes, and the number of human souls was very large. In the hundreds of millions. You probably just don't want to collect too many human souls to avoid disturbing the entire human population in the soul world. Wang Feng shook his head and said, when normal soul demons appear, They can casually destroy a few small islands, and there will be tens of thousands of humans. It's just easy to find an excuse. Maybe Wang Feng was right. Meng Yuanqing was silent. Wang Feng looked at this group of people. When he came to the reincarnation well, he didn't expect the situation to be so absurd. In fact, when he first saw Fairy Meng, he felt that something was wrong. He originally thought that it was not strange for these cultivators to collect human souls for their own cultivation. After all, cultivators had all kinds of strange cultivation methods, and it was normal for them to use human souls to cultivate their own souls. The soul energy in this place was so weak, and everyone wanted to live. The longer they lived, the more likely they would have to be reincarnated. The number of souls of normal humans was so large. For cultivators, these souls of normal humans were like ants, and they could be collected at will. But he didn't expect this to be the reason. Wang Feng closed his eyes, and the shadow of an axe slowly condensed in his hand. If one looked closely, they would find that the shadow of the axe was more solid than before. The soul energy just now had improved the deduction progress of the Pangu axe martial soul by a small part. However, after learning the origin of the soul energy, Wang Fengxin was not happy. Human. Wang Feng spat out 2 words. After all, he was also a human. Although at his level and experience, hundreds of thousands of human souls would not make him feel too much. But they were still compatriot. I won't kill you for now. I'll leave one of your souls and deal with it later. Wang Feng said, Where is the will of that demon god? Mu Rou and the other 2 were also sacrificed by you, right? Although the axe was just a shadow, it exuded a terrible momentum that could destroy the world and split the sky. Even if Wang Feng's soul was not strong, the axe in his hand made Meng Yuanqing and the other cultivators tremble. It was as if they could be easily killed with just a light swing of the axe. Immortal cultivators were far more sensitive to danger than ordinary human beings. They felt the premonition of their souls disappearing from the axe. It's at the sacrificial cauldron under the mountain. Meng Yuanqing's voice was a little choked. Wang Fengxin moved, and his soul disappeared. The next moment, he appeared directly above the sacrificial cauldron under the mountain. At this time, Mu Rou and Shang Jun were almost completely sucked into the cauldron. Wang Feng did not hesitate and directly swung the axe at the sacrificial cauldron. The destructive axe light was like the first ray of divine light that opened the world. It was only for a moment, but it was eternal. Boom! The sacrificial cauldron was directly shattered. A demonic shadow flew out from inside and let out a strange laugh. In an instant, Fairy Meng, who was at the side, was stunned. She screamed and rushed toward the broken sacrificial cauldron without thinking. She lost her composure and shouted, Demon God, please spare my life. I'm willing to sacrifice myself. Please don't blame our cloud-gathering island. Her actions stunned Wang Feng. For a moment, he could not understand. Jia, I'm in a good mood to meet an old friend. I can let cloud-gathering island go. But I'm willing to sacrifice myself. This is what you said. A soul that willingly appears is delicious. You cultivators' souls are really good. Ha ha! The demonic shadow laughed and slowly revealed a figure. Seeing this, Wang Feng's tone was calm as if he had already guessed it. Long time no see. You really do make me miss you a lot. Huang Hai Demon God. Source of starting from Douluo. Chapter 1619. The demonic figure was demon god Huang Hai, the one who got the demonic chi and disappeared in the dark demon realm. Wang Feng looked at him quietly without any change in his expression, because he had already guessed it when he was in the dark demon realm. After demon god Huang Hai got the demonic chi and disappeared, Wang Feng had even personally gone to the Abyss Sea Devil Domain to look for it, and he had even fallen into the trap left behind by demon god Huang Hai. Demon god Huang Hai did not go to any wormhole and stayed in the dark demon realm, but the clear sky palace could not find him. That was ridiculous. At that time, Wang Feng had roughly guessed that the desolate sea demon god could only have gone to one place. That was the reincarnation well, because only by going to that place would he disappear from the dark demon realm. Even demon gods could not sense his aura. He could even avoid the detection of the demon god Tiansu. Therefore, when Wang Feng learned that there was a demon god soul in this area, he knew that demon god Huang Hai's soul might be hiding somewhere here, or near the reincarnation well. It was definitely not just the soul of a demon god. TSK, this sovereign knew that you would definitely come to this world. Demon god Huang Hai's demonic figure looked at Wang Feng. His body was like a flame being blown by a strong wind, and his demonic figure kept changing. Oh? You are so aware? Wang Feng smiled. You know you can't escape from me? Alright, stop pretending. Emperor. No, human, you are already dead. If I am not wrong, you must have died because of the black tide, right? Demon god Huang Hai roared with laughter. Otherwise, they would have been destroyed by that ancestor demon. Other than that, there was no other possibility. You are still pretending in front of me? After that, he glanced at the axe in Wang Feng's hand. You are right. Wang Feng nodded and did not deny it. I am indeed dead. You created the black tide in the dark demon realm, but the demon ancestor is also the reason. I have to say, you are very cunning. The arrangements of the black tide should have been planned a long time ago, right? But Wang Feng paused and looked at him with a faint smile. Aren't you the same? After getting the demonic chi, you have nowhere to run, so you can only hide here? If you are not dead, would you have come here? Unfortunately, you did not use the demonic chi you spent so much effort to get, right? Wang Feng did not think that Huang Hai was killed by someone. He must have abandoned his demonic body and came to this world in a dead state. It was even possible that he was trying to preserve that strand of demonic chi so that he could be reborn with that strand of demonic chi. Then, with a new form, he could cultivate all the way to the top and reach the top of the universe. After all, the demonic chi was Huang Hai demon realm. As for Desolate Ocean, he did not dare to use that wisp of demonic chi in the dark devil world. If he did, it would definitely cause a phenomenon, and he would be exposed immediately. By then, he might be killed by the many demon gods before he could even become a universe-level life form. Therefore, he could only come to the reincarnation well and find another way. Anyway, as long as that strand of demonic aura was still there, it could become a cosmic life form. Huang Hai's plan could be said to be extremely extreme. Once he obtained the demonic chi, he would enter the reincarnation well and reincarnate with the demonic chi. This way, it would be very difficult for the dark demon realm to discover him. Because the demonic gods couldn't control the well of reincarnation, no one knew where the desolate sea demon god had reincarnated to. With the methods of the demonic gods, if they took the initiative to reincarnate, they would definitely leave behind opportunities, clues, and resources in the various worlds in advance. Then, after reincarnating, they would slowly find their memories to ensure that they could cultivate smoothly and reach the peak again. The Fiend Celestials might not have thought of such a scheme. However, Wang Feng had thought of this possibility when he failed to find Fiend Celestial Desolate Sea in the Abyss Sea Fiend Zone. Do you know a lot? Huang Hai laughed loudly. But isn't the entire dark demon world being toyed around by me? So what if he died? It's just a demonic body. It's a pity. Demon god Huang Hai looked at Wang Feng. His demonic shadow revealed a ferocious face. Your soul is very weak now. But I'm different. It's indeed different, said Wang Feng indifferently. As a fiend celestial, he was reduced to devouring human souls. With the nobility of you demon gods, wouldn't devouring the souls of ordinary humans stain your reputation? Human, you don't have to trick me. Such petty tricks are meaningless to me, said demonic god Huang Hai calmly. This demonic god Huang Hai was very cunning. He didn't fall for it at all. Wang Feng was indeed baffled by Desolate Sea's actions. Although Huang Hai had died by shedding his own demonic body, his demonic soul was still extremely powerful. He didn't need to devour human souls at all. He could just go straight to the well of reincarnation. Even if he had suffered some injuries and needed to devour human souls to recover, he still wouldn't be able to do so. With his methods, why would he need to threaten the cultivators of Cloud Gathering Island? Although Meng Yuanqing and the other cultivators sensed that something was wrong, they didn't have a choice. But no matter what, there must be some unknown reason and purpose behind this. Even if you don't say it, I can guess. Wang Feng smiled. It has something to do with the Well of Reincarnation and Yamalord, right? Guess as you wish. But today, your soul is destined to disappear here. Huang Hai's voice was flat. With that, Huang Hai's demonic shadow instantly changed. In an instant, countless soul shadows flew out of his body. They were the souls of humans. They covered the sky and covered the earth. Every human soul's face was filled with numbness and fear, as if they were experiencing something terrible. Wang Feng frowned slightly. His pupils constricted as he realized something. Huang Hai wants to escape? I'm afraid even he didn't expect to meet me here. Was that calm look just now all an act? Looking at the soul shadows, Wang Feng looked coldly in Huang Hai's direction. As expected, that guy had turned into a ray of light and disappeared. Ha ha ha, I still have some human souls that I haven't devoured directly. Just nice, I'll give them to you. If you can be ruthless enough to attack me. I don't deserve to be played by you. Huang Hai's leisurely voice sounded. Clang. An ancient sound came from afar. In an instant, those human souls rushed toward Wang Feng crazily as if they had heard an order. In a split second, Wang Feng's mind flashed with doubt. This Desolate Sea demon god is truly an extremely cunning fellow. Wang Fengxin said. He actually chose to escape. Looks like he saw the power of Pangu's axe in the Soul Demon Sacred City. He doesn't want to be at a disadvantage. But it's true that my soul is weak. He didn't even attack me and chose to escape? What a coward! But, do you think you can stop me with such a method? Wang Feng sneered. Chapter 1620. Shake! Wang Feng shouted as he looked at the souls dancing in the sky. His soul emitted a huge amount of soul energy, which turned into invisible soul sound waves, spreading out in all directions like turbulent sea wave. It was the primal chaos 8 notes that he had not used for a long time. Ever since he entered the divine realm, Wang Feng had rarely used the primal chaos 8 note. Basically, he relied on the power of origin to fight. Although Wang Feng had continuously improved the primal chaos 8 notes, it was still far from the power of origin. It was not very useful against demon gods. Especially after he entered the dark demon realm, he had not used it at all. But now, as the secret spirit technique that Wang Feng had created, it was comparable to the 9 secrets heaven-shrouding secret art. Now it was extremely useful. Especially in the soul world, this secret spirit technique might be even more useful than the power of origin. In that instant, countless human souls seemed to have been frozen in time as they stood rooted to the ground. You can't escape. Wang Feng stared into the distance. The Pangu axe in his hand gradually solidified. Just now, he had coincidentally absorbed a large amount of soul energy and strengthened the Pangu axe by a small amount. According to the recovery rate of the primordial origin, it should be around 1%. Even this 1% was much more powerful than the Pangu axe martial soul from before. Even though Wang Feng's soul was very weak and could not unleash much of its power, it was still the remnant soul of the Pangu axe that had become stronger. The Pangu axe in his hand trembled slightly. Wang Fengxin could feel it. Then, he stood in place and swung the axe down. The axe light seemed to have penetrated through space and slashed down toward the demonic figure. As expected, the Pangu axe martial soul is slowly recovering. It will also give birth to powerful abilities. Wang Fengxin was shocked. This axe light penetrated through space and locked onto the demonic figure of the desolate sea demon god that had almost disappeared from sight. It was different from before. In the past, even if Wang Feng had the Pangu axe, he would not have been able to cut down the demonic figure. Soul energy locked, it is not restricted by space. Even if he escapes to the soul cleansing sea, he will not be able to avoid this axe light. As the axe light slashed down in the distance, they saw a light curtain suddenly explode, and they could vaguely hear a few cold and shrill screams. An enormous and evil soul energy exploded from afar. This demonic will should have gathered most of the demonic will of the desolate sea demon god, which was why its soul energy was so massive after it was destroyed. Compared to what he had absorbed in the palace, it was many times larger. Wang Feng looked at the Pangu axe in his hand and thought to himself that it was indeed a great killing weapon. If this thing could be used to mend the remnant soul and restore the true soul, its power would reach an unimaginable level. Although I didn't find out his goal, I can't let demon god Desolate see off so easily. Wang Feng shook his head. Then, he looked at the frozen human souls in the sky and sighed. These human souls all had excellent aptitude. Meng Yuanqing and the others had secretly captured them and offered them to the desolate sea demon god. However, the desolate sea demon god hadn't had time to digest them. It might have been controlled by demon god Huang Hai using a special secret technique. Of course, it could also be left behind as a backup, but it didn't matter now. Their consciousness is still there. They can still be awakened. Wang Feng pondered for a while. The means of the Fiend Celestials were nothing to him. No matter what secret technique they used to control them, Wang Feng could undo it, not to mention that the demonic consciousness had been destroyed. However, these human souls might not be able to live for long. As puppets, their souls had become very weak. Otherwise, the desolate sea demon god wouldn't have used them as a shield. Go! Wang Feng threw the Pangu axe in his hand and directly rushed in that direction, devouring the soul energy of the desolate sea demon god. Then, he used the Ming sound of the 8 chaotic sounds and combined it with the primordial origin to undo the state of the human souls. Among these human souls, Wang Feng found Mu Rou and Shang Jun, who had just been absorbed by the desolate sea demon god and hadn't had time to devour them. The two of them were obviously in a much better state. At the same time, Meng Yuanqing and many other immortal cultivators flew out from the palace in the distance. They had seen the scene earlier, but they didn't dare to come out. Especially when they heard the conversation between Wang Feng and the desolate sea demon god, they knew they were in big trouble. After listening for a while, they knew what kind of concept it was for a human to be able to go against the desolate sea demon god. Now, however, they had to face an even more troublesome and terrifying scene. Not long after the countless human souls woke up, their gazes immediately fell on Meng Yuanqing and the other immortal cultivators. Their eyes were filled with monstrous hatred. Wang Feng looked at this scene indifferently and didn't say anything. The souls that had been tricked by Meng Yuanqing and the other immortal cultivators probably didn't know what they were going to face before they were devoured by the desolate sea demon god. The remaining souls were lucky enough to be awakened by Wang Feng, but their memories were probably still stuck at the time when they were devoured by the desolate sea demon god. It was unknown how deep their hatred for the immortal cultivators on Cloud Gathering Island was. Master, what should we do? Inside the palace, Yunmu looked at this scene with a pale face. Every soul's face was filled with malevolence. Meng Yuanqing closed his eyes and shook his head. They are just suffering the consequences of their own actions. He let out a long sigh and looked toward the horizon. In the end, this is the cycle of the heavenly Tao. It's hard to escape karma. Perhaps all of this was predestined. We can take action. After all, they are just human souls. No matter how many there are, they are just small fries. The man on Meng Yuanqing's left said in a low voice, as long as that person doesn't take action, it's useless. Meng Yuanqing shook his head. No matter what difficulties we have, it happened. If we want to blame someone, we can only blame that desolate sea demon god for choosing us. Moreover, we have absorbed a lot of the soul energy. Although we can comfort ourselves in our hearts by saying that it was to stabilize our strength and protect more human souls, but we know in our hearts that it's just an excuse. Hearing this, the others immediately fell silent. In the next moment, the countless human souls surged toward them like malicious ghosts. Seeing this, Wang Feng didn't stop them. He just watched quietly. After a while, he landed beside Mu Rou. "Are you all okay?" Wang Feng asked. Mu Rou didn't rush toward the human souls. Instead, she rushed toward Fairy Meng. Fairy Meng just stood there quietly with her eyes closed. It seemed like she didn't want to say anything. "I'm fine," Mu Rou said in a daze. She probably still hadn't come back to her senses. She had seen the situation just now. It was just that she couldn't accept it at the moment. Shang Jun looked at Wang Feng and then knelt down. She said in a clear voice, "Senior, can you take us as your disciples? We don't ask for much. As long as our souls can be strengthened, we don't ask to enter the reincarnation well to be reincarnated, but we don't want to be wantonly devoured by those soul demons." Wang Feng glanced at this guy again. "Sure." On the other hand, Mu Rou slowly walked towards Fairy Meng and shouted loudly, "Why did you do this? Did you take in all my compatriots on the island?" Fairy Meng didn't open her eyes. It seemed like she didn't want to answer her at all. She looked like a walking corpse waiting for death. End of chapter. Chapter 16:21. Wang Feng did not interrupt. From a long time ago, he felt that there was a problem, but it was not of much use. Because he felt that there was a big problem, he did not want to alert the enemy. Although Wang Feng's soul was weak now, his intelligence was still there. When he first saw Fairy Meng, he could feel that there was a big problem. Mu Rou was just an ordinary human soul. The human souls on the island were the same. Naturally, they could not sense anything. Not to mention, their minds were already immersed in the deeds of these cultivators. Even if they sensed the problem, it would be difficult to make the right judgment. "Get up." Wang Feng glanced at Shang Jun. He only felt that this human soul was ordinary. Compared to other human souls, her soul was just a little more solid. But this feeling in his eyes was almost nothing. It was just that those immortal cultivators had chosen the tallest among the shorter ones. There was no other choice on the entire island, so they had chosen her and Mu Rou. In comparison, Mu Rou was more unique. Mu Rou could escape from the soul-cleansing ocean. The most amazing thing. And she could meet him. This was the most amazing thing. Shang Jun immediately stood up and did not speak. "Why are you not speaking?" Mu Rou stretched out her hands and made the gesture of a ghost pouncing on its prey. It seemed that she wanted to pounce on Fairy Meng like the other human souls did to Meng Yuanqing. Fairy Meng opened her eyes and looked at her indifferently. She then looked at the mountain peak in the distance. She closed her eyes again. In an instant, Wang Feng saw Mu Rou's body trembling. Her soul energy was surging. Wang Feng shook his head. Cultivator's willpower and Tao heart were incomparably strong. This mysterious heaven sect was the top immortal sect in the cloud-coming field. They inherited the orthodoxy of the immortals. Even if they were destroyed by the dark demon field, their soul's willpower did not dissipate. In their hearts, surviving and inheriting the orthodoxy was more important than anything else, so they would never admit that they were wrong. Not to mention admitting that they were wrong to a mortal. Even if they explained anything to Mu Rou, it was not likely. Wang Feng put his hands behind his back and looked at the sky. Cultivators represented a completely different immortal cultivation system. It was a great Tao that could also reach the top of the universe. It was also the existence that Wang Feng had desired in his previous life. But now, in his eyes, it was a strong power. Their willpower and Tao heart were very strong. It could be seen from Fairy Meng in front of him. He would not easily change because of anything. Even if his physical body was destroyed, the cloud-coming realm was destroyed, and only his soul remained. He had always been consistent. As for justice and evil, these two simple concepts were not what they were pursuing. In fact, in the structure of life in the universe, there was no such thing as a simple concept of justice and evil. To me, these immortal cultivators are not wrong. They capture the souls of ordinary humans and refine them to pay the demonic god of the desolate ocean to ensure their safety. Instead, it was their fault for provoking him. Wang Feng turned around and looked at Mu Rou. He didn't pay any attention to her. He only looked at her from a bystander's point of view. He was thinking that, if he were to look at this from the perspective of a universe-level life form, it would be like watching a child playing house. He wouldn't even give it a second glance. He wouldn't even bother with them. This could be seen from the fact that Mo Tiance could attack him in the Dark Devil world without any hesitation with the suppression of a great world, causing the Dark Devil world to tremble and shatter the 9 regions. Countless soul demons died in the battle. 4 life forms below the universe level, death was just a word for them. Wang Feng shook his head. It wasn't that universe-level life forms didn't have emotions. It was just that the emotions of universe-level life forms were diluted, especially for lower life forms. They were almost transparent. Mu Rou took 2 steps back. Fairy Meng's disregard and indifference were unimaginable. From her perspective, she could only look at it from the perspective of an ordinary human. It was difficult for her to understand immortal cultivators like Fairy Meng. At this moment, Fairy Meng suddenly opened her eyes. She looked at Wang Feng and said calmly, "I'll give you the complete 7 emotions immortal soul record. I don't ask you to let us go. I just want you to pass it on." Wang Feng was startled and asked, "Why should I do that?" "Because you should need it," Fairy Meng answered. "How do you know I need it?" "You asked me before. With your strength, I think there is only one possibility for you to ask about this item. You must be interested in it," she replied. Wang Feng chuckled. Fairy Meng was quite an intelligent person. He was quite interested in the inheritance left by an immortal. But he didn't need it. If there was a better way to speed up the cultivation of the primordial origin, it didn't matter if there wasn't. Wang Feng didn't answer. Fairy Meng pointed her finger and a ray of golden light turned into a soul jade slip and flew into Wang Feng's hand. Then, she flew to the top of the mountain like a moth to a flame. Immortal cultivators, interesting. Wang Feng crushed the soul jade slip in his hand. It was obviously made of soul energy. It was a copy of the immortal's inheritance. It was a copy of the 7 emotions immortal soul record. Of course, it wasn't the original, but it was still okay. He just didn't expect them to do this. Speaking of which, from the beginning to the end, when he saw through them, none of these immortal cultivators begged for mercy. It was as if they already knew the outcome. "Let's go." Wang Feng looked at Mu Rou and Shang Jun. He had gained a lot from this trip. Compared to pure cultivation, the gains were much greater. Demon god Huang Hai's demonic thought alone provided a large part of the primordial origin's soul energy. This meant that the recovery of the Pangu Axe martial soul would be faster. A conservative estimate would be at least 4 to 5%. That was just a demonic thought. If a few more were to devour the demon god Huang Hai, it wouldn't be a problem to reach 30%. It would be much faster than killing those soul demons. The soul energy of the demon god's soul was incomparable to that of the soul demons. Ah! Mu Rou was pulled back by Shang Jun. She came back to her senses. After her anger disappeared, she realized what had happened. Looking at Wang Feng, her eyes changed from anger and sorrow to fear. There was an obvious change. She was silent for a while, forcing herself to calm down. Can I go back to the island first? I want to go back and sing the requiem. Mu Rou regained some of her calmness and said to Wang Feng reluctantly. However, she didn't dare to look at Wang Feng. Go if you want. Wang Feng waved his hand. I'll send you on your way. Don't be afraid of me. I'm also a human soul. It's just that it's a little different from yours. The Requiem song was the song Wang Feng had heard when he first arrived at Mu Rou's island. It should be that when the human souls couldn't hold on and gradually faded away, their compatriots would sing this song to comfort the souls that had passed away forever. After saying that, Wang Feng thought for a while. With a wave of his hand, he condensed a flying sword with his soul energy. This flying sword was more condensed and majestic than the one Fairy Meng used. It also carried a sharp aura. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.